Chapter 456. Since that day, Ningxiang almost never left her room. Tangua had long excused the imperial concubine from paying respects to her. The reason was that she wanted to sleep in and didn't want to wake up too early. There was no one else who could give this reason. If word got out, it would make people despise the imperial concubine for being extravagant and arrogant. General Tang was still around, and many people still endured it. General Tang had been dead for more than half a year, and many people had some complaints about this imperial concubine. Recently, Xianyuan and Mo also received memorials from the ministers, hoping that the rain and dew could be shared equally. Of course, Xianyuan and Mo rejected them. He mocked them directly. "You're all concerned about my harem. Back then, when I wanted someone to go to the border to quell the chaos, why didn't anyone take the initiative to step forward? Since all of you are so free, why don't I give you a title and go to the border to quell the chaos and make military contributions before coming back? If I hear such words again in the future, I will also be very interested in caring about your harem." Xianyuan Mo's firm reply made the ministers speechless. The current emperor was no longer the emperor who had just ascended the throne, who could be easily manipulated. They looked at each other and observed the few officials who had concubines in the harem. They found that they were calm and had no intention of impeaching the imperial concubine for dominating the harem. They were a little puzzled. Today, they thought that countless people would agree with the memorials. This was different from what they had imagined. After the court, someone couldn't help but pull a minister who was closer to him and ask, "Lord Ming, what do you mean by this?" "I don't mean anything. Lord Liu, why are you pulling me along?" Lord Ming had a serious look on his face as if he didn't know anything, which made Lord Liu scold him as an old fox. He chuckled. "Lord Ming, don't you have any thoughts about the imperial concubine dominating the harem?" "What thoughts can I have?" Lord Ming raised his eyelids. "That's the imperial concubine's ability. It's better for us to not interfere with His Majesty's harem." This official remembers that Lord Liu has 18 concubines in his family. Be careful not to be targeted by His Majesty. With that, Lord Ming waved his sleeves and left with a smile. His daughter was doing very well now. Why should she do such an annoying thing? Thinking of the news his daughter sent back, his expression became complicated. It was better for the Ming family not to interfere in the imperial concubine's matter. It would be best if he didn't flatter him or hit him when he was down. His Majesty's thoughts were becoming more and more unpredictable. "Your Highness, what are you looking for?" When Mei Lan heard Tang Guo instructing her to rummage through the chests that had been brought into the palace by the general's estate, she inquired considerately. The items that were previously stored in the chests were all made by this servant. If Nyang Nyang needs anything, there is no harm in telling this servant. This way, it will be faster to find them. Tangwa smiled and nodded. "That's true. I forgot that Mei Lan was the one who did all of this. Do you still remember that father once gave this consort a small box that contained all of mother's belongings? Aside from this consort's most treasured sachet, everything else was in that box?" "I remember. This servant will go look for it now." Mei Lan had a vague impression of it. She searched for the box in her memory. Soon, she pulled out a small box, which was about the size of a book. "Your Highness, take a look. Is this it?" Tangwa glanced at the box and nodded. "Give it to me." "This is it." Mei Lan thought that Tangwa wanted to look at the box to think of someone, so she stood to the side in silence. Nyang Nyang lost her mother when she was born, and now the general was also gone. She originally thought that His Majesty treated Nyang Nyang well, but she didn't expect that it was just an illusion. Thinking about it this way, that man who looked like His Majesty was probably the person who treated Nyang Nyang the best in the world. Chapter 457. Tangwa opened the box. There were some small trinkets inside. Her ultimate goal was a brocade handkerchief. This brocade handkerchief was originally carried by General Tang. Later on, when she entered the palace, General Tang put the brocade handkerchief into the box, indicating that it should be passed on to her. Tangwa unfolded the brocade handkerchief and looked at the exquisite patterns on it, as well as the small words embroidered on the side. Her eyes flashed. Those who didn't know would think that this was just an ordinary brocade handkerchief, but as long as they saw the contents, they would understand that it wasn't that simple. On this brocade handkerchief was a long-lost embroidery technique from beyond the Great Wall. It was also the embroidery technique that she had once used on her sachet. Tang's father and mother met outside the Great Wall. At that time, General Tang was still an 18-year-old boy. He was handsome and had excellent martial arts skills. When he was quelling the rebellion, he happened to encounter her mother using embroidery to deal with a few hooligans. He admired her and helped her mother deal with those hooligans. The two of them hit it off at first sight. When they met again, they fell in love with each other. Her mother and father returned. Although she had good embroidery skills and her martial arts weren't bad, due to her early injuries, her health wasn't good. To be able to live to the age of 20 was already a miracle. Sure enough, not long after she was born, she was gone. From then on, General Tang doted on his beloved daughter wholeheartedly and had no intention of taking in a concubine. Everyone in the heavenly Qin kingdom knew that General Tang doted on his daughter to the point of obsession. He had completely doted on Miss Tang of the family into a little princess. Mother knew that she wouldn't live long and couldn't bear to see this kind of skill lost, so she used embroidery to leave it on this brocade handkerchief. For the past 2 days, Tangwa had been studying this complicated embroidery technique. In the world that she had transmigrated to, she had been an embroiderer and knew countless embroidery techniques. However, she had never seen the one in front of her. After looking at it for 3 to 5 days, she felt that she had more or less understood it and began to make the sachet. Mei Lan had been by Tangwa's side all day. She was stunned when she saw her exquisite skills. This is the skill that mother left behind. That day, when I saw the sachet on Noble Lady Yin, I suddenly remembered that I can't let this skill be lost. Mei Lan expressed her understanding. Now that Her Highness no longer had any relatives, she could only search for these items that belonged to her loved ones. Nyang Nyang, who did you make this sachet for? Mei Lan knew in her heart that it definitely wasn't for the emperor. Sure enough, Tangwa smiled. Who else could it be? Of course, it's the one who came over tonight. The corners of Tangwa's mouth curled up slightly. When the time was right, this sachet would be of great use. At night, when Xinyuan Mie came, that person was different from before. She was not reading a storybook, but embroidering. He walked over quietly, not daring to disturb her or touch her. He was afraid that she would be frightened and prick her finger. He sat quietly by the side and watched her embroidery. This kind of peaceful beauty also made him feel very wonderful. At this moment, he only wanted her to call him wife. He looked at the embroidered pattern and found it hard to explain. He thought that Guo would embroider some flowers or eagles. He never thought that she would embroider a very cute puppy. Does it look good? Yes, very cute. Xinyuan Mia hurriedly praised, his hand holding her waist. How did Guo have the interest to do this? It's for Amia. Do you want it? A sachet with a puppy embroidered on it was for him? Although wearing a sachet with a puppy embroidered on it didn't match his image, why was he so happy? He couldn't wait to throw away the sachet at his waist and wear this cute sachet to wave in front of his subordinates. He even wanted to wave it in front of Xinyuan Mo. I want it. Chapter 458. I truly embroidered this sachet for you. Tangwa helped Xinyuan Mia put on the rusted sachet and touched the puppy pattern on it. But it's also true that I'm using you to do something. Xinyuan Mia didn't mind at all. He touched the sachet and revealed a row of neat teeth, but there was still a hint of wickedness in the corner of his mouth. As long as Guo likes it, he was more than willing to make use of her, be it mentally or physically. Before I remind you, Amia is not allowed to reveal the existence of this sachet to Xinyuan Mo. Xinyuan Mia narrowed his eyes. Okay. Although it was a little regretful, it was right to listen to Guo. Don't be regretful. When the time is right, you can announce it to the whole world. Tangwa smiled. In the future, I'll make clothes for you and shoes for you. I can even appear in front of Xinyuan Mo every day. However, Xinyuan Mia held her small, fair hand and kissed it. No, Guo's hands are not suitable for such rough work. There are people who can make clothes and shoes. If Guo really has the heart, she can just make some small sachets. Doing these would hurt her eyes. He couldn't bear for her to tire herself out. Her body wasn't good to begin with. If she damaged her body because of these, he would regret it for the rest of his life. He pulled her to the side and sat down. Then, he began to massage her knees. Every time he looked up, he could see her smiling and loving gaze. He was satisfied that Guo liked him. This woman was really good to him, not to mention making use of him a little. Even if she made use of him a lot, he wouldn't even frown if she wanted his life. Tonight, Guo, do you like me a little more? He placed his palms on her knees and asked with infinite tenderness in his eyes. Tangwa held his head and kissed his forehead. I like Amia a little more. That's great. Father-in-law's side is progressing very smoothly. With the items Guo gave him, father-in-law is a very charismatic person. He has already gathered a group of very loyal subordinates. Not only that, but the veterans who had retired due to various injuries were also found by General Tang and quietly taken away. After knowing what had happened to Tangwa, countless veterans were furious and were willing to follow General Tang. Xinyuan Mie wanted to interfere, but both General Tang and Tangwa stopped him. The father and daughter were really the same, but it was enough to prove that they were both capable people. Xinyuan Mie thought more than once that it was no wonder he fell in love with her at first sight. Guo was so outstanding that it made one's hair stand on end. Could it be that the heavens were too jealous of such an outstanding Guo, that they left her with a body full of illnesses? I have something else that I want you to give to my father. Tangwa gestured for Mei Lan to bring over the booklet she had prepared. Without sealing it, she handed it over to Xinyuan Mie. With the things inside, not to mention a mere Tianqing kingdom, even the entire world might not be impossible to take down. However, my father and I are not that ambitious. We only need to occupy a piece of land and have the power to attack the heavenly Qin kingdom at any time. Xinyuan Mie found it funny. What a good lack of ambition. However, this was not something that anyone could do. The heavenly Qin kingdom was not a small country, but a superpower. This father and daughter pair were amazing. He had no intention of opening the booklet and kept it in his arms. Guo gave it to him without sealing it. It was clear that she trusted him. No matter what good things it was, he did not care. All he cared about was the person in front of him. Chapter 459. For half a year, Xinyuan Mo was busy uncovering the spies planted by the border tribes. The father and son of the Yin family also made contributions at the border, beating those tribes until they didn't dare to invade again. For a time, the Yin family's momentum in the imperial court soared. After returning to the imperial court, they were naturally rewarded, and the Yin family became a new rising power. The small concubine and in the harem also received a promotion because of the Yin family, from a small 6th-rank concubine into a 5th-rank concubine on. Everyone thought that Xinyuan Mo would go to Ningxiang's place that night, but they didn't expect that he would go to the imperial concubine's palace. With this thought, everyone understood that the emperor only promoted concubine and because of the Yin family. He didn't like concubine and in his heart, and he still liked the imperial concubine. No one knew that the one who came to comfort the imperial concubine at night was Xinyuan Mie, and concubine and could see the emperor almost every night. I've wronged Ningxiang. Xinyuan Mo hugged the woman in his arms. Now that the Yin family is on the rise, as long as it stabilizes, we will definitely give them a chance. At that time, we can promote your position, which is more convincing than reaching the heavens in a single step. Amo, you're so good. And Ningxiang's heart was sweet. She thought of the elegant imperial concubine and hesitated. If Amo makes me empress, I wonder what imperial concubine will do? The one who went to the imperial concubine's palace was another man. For the sake of the imperial family's face, Xinyuan Mo definitely wouldn't use this matter to make trouble. General Tang had already died in battle, and the glory of the family Tang could no longer bring the imperial concubine anything. It could be said that once Xinyuan Mo didn't like the imperial concubine, her life wouldn't be easy. Xinyuan Mo also suddenly fell silent. If Ningxiang became the empress, of course he wouldn't dote on the imperial concubine anymore. The person he liked from the beginning was Ningxiang, and the imperial concubine was just a shield he set up for Ningxiang. According to the original plan, General Tang had betrayed the country, and the imperial concubine would also be implicated and banished to the cold palace. Now, this method didn't work. His imperial brother had said that the imperial concubine was the other party's person, so he really didn't dare to do anything to the imperial concubine. In fact, in the depths of his heart, he really didn't want to do anything to the imperial concubine. After thinking about it, he said, "Let's do it this way." And Ningxiang pinched her sleeves and pursed her lips. "Is this okay? If Ningxiang becomes the empress, she will definitely be targeted by countless people. It's better to have a Gue Fei in front of her. That way, Ningxiang will have less trouble." Xinyuan Mo explained, "If the imperial consort makes any mistakes because of your existence, it won't be too late to punish her then." And Ningxiang's heart relaxed. So Mo was thinking for her? However, she still felt uncomfortable. She was going to be the empress in the future, and Mo wanted to do the same. He wanted everyone to think that the person he doted on was the imperial consort. As the empress, she was not favored. Although the imperial concubine's experience made people sympathize with her, people were selfish when it came to relationships. No woman could accept the misconception that the person she loved and doted on someone else. But Ningxiang was smart. She would not tell Xinyuan Mo these thoughts. She did not believe that the concubines in the imperial harem would be able to tolerate the imperial concubines being favored year after year. Once she became the imperial concubine, she would only need to watch from the sidelines. Year after year, 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Because of the family's father and son, Ningxiang's status rose again and again. Now, she was no longer concubine An, but was respectfully addressed as concubine in Xian. Concubine Meng was promoted to concubine Mengda, concubine Yin was promoted to concubine Yin, concubine Lan was promoted to concubine Lan, concubine Hirongwa was promoted to concubine Hirongwa, concubine Yun was promoted to concubine Yun, and Tanghua, who was originally the head of the 4 concubines, was promoted to imperial concubine. Chapter 460. Except for Ningxiang, who was promoted willingly by Xinyuan Mo, the others were promoted when Tanghua mentioned it. He was very happy to do this. Only in this way, Ningxiang was actually inconspicuous. In just a few years, she went from a concubine to a virtuous concubine. This kind of promotion speed was very shocking when one thought about it carefully. But when everyone was promoted together, many people thought that Ningxiang was not valued. Otherwise, every time she made a contribution to the family, she would be promoted. How could others also be promoted? It was obvious that the emperor did not value her. The harem was a place for countless women. Many people were selected in these years, and there were often all kinds of dirty things. Whether it was the high-ranking concubines or the masters who were promoted, they were all secretly fighting. In fact, they did not know what they were fighting for. Clearly, the emperor only went to the imperial Gue Fei's palace for so many years. The only difference was that no matter how the high-ranking concubines fought, they would never burn Tanghua's palace. Naturally, they would not dare to burn it. There was a very strange phenomenon. There were often rumors that many high-ranking concubines would go to the imperial Gue Fei's palace early in the morning every day. When they left, their eyes were red, as if they had suffered a great grievance. The scary thing was, the next day, they rushed over early in the morning again. When they left, many of them were red in the face. Sometimes, they would meet a few high-ranking concubines. After they came out of the palace, they would start to ridicule one another. "Concubine Mengda, you are too much. Look at the smile on your face. This concubine is very disgusted. Concubine Yin Shu, this concubine is warning you. If you dare to do those things again, this concubine will definitely teach you a lesson." He Zhaoyuan timely said, "If you want to go too far, who can compare to the imperial Gue Fei?" When concubine Mengda and concubine Yin Shu heard this name, their eyes became red. They gritted their teeth and said hatefully, "Yes, the imperial Gue Fei is the most excessive. There is no one in the palace who is more annoying than her." Thinking of what happened before, concubine Mengda was so angry that her eyes were spitting fire. That imperial Gue Fei was really too hateful. Didn't she just secretly change a tile? She actually punished her to not touch mahjong in the palace for 3 days. Wasn't this asking for her old life? Sister consort does is still all right. Zhaoyuan looked aggrieved. She had lost the game and had lost all her savings. She made a military pledge that she would use her underwear as a wager. The imperial noble consort, who had never lost or won, had actually won consecutively until she really lost her belly band in the Imperial Noble Consort's palace. That was really embarrassing. In Shufei patted her chest. Sigh. How infuriating. She had only said that because she had won a day's worth of mahjong, she had gotten carried away and said that Imperial Noble Consort Jeje's mahjong skills were only SOSO. In the end, the treasures that she had won in 3 days were all lost to the Imperial Gue Fei in 2 hours. The three of them looked at each other and spat at the same time. Let's go. We'll come back tomorrow to pay our respects to our Imperial Gue Fei. The three of them clenched their fists and left. Their hateful looks made everyone think that they had a deep grudge against Tanghua. Tanghua looked at the room full of fruits and slowly tasted the tea. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. Mei Lan was already prostrating herself in admiration. Her Imperial Highness was still the best. Starting tomorrow, He Xiaoyuan will probably have to wear 2 more belly bands before she dares to play mahjong. Mei Lan held back her laughter. Wasn't that right? Consort Yin Shu also won't dare to talk nonsense and question Bin Gong's mahjong skills. That's right. Her Imperial Highness mahjong skills were godly. Who could compare? I didn't think that concubine Mengda was the kind of person with bad mahjong skills. You actually dared to secretly change your tiles. Do you think Bin Gong's eyes and memory are bad? Chapter 461. It was unknown when it started, but inside and outside the court, everyone was praising Consort Ancien's character. There were even people who commented that Consort Ancien's character was worthy of being empress. However, these rumors were quickly suppressed by the Yin family. They even released a statement saying that they did not want to hear such unrighteous rumors about the Yin family. Once they caught the person who spread the news, they would definitely report him to the emperor and punish him. Sure enough, no one said that Consort Ancien's character was worthy of being empress in front of others. Instead, they said that the Yin family's character was good behind their backs. General Yin was strict in governing the family. No wonder he had a daughter like Consort Ancien. One summer, there was a flood in the Tianqin state. No one knew what Xinyuan Imo was thinking. He actually wanted to take the high-ranking concubines in the palace to experience the people's livelihood. And Ningxiang even suggested that the concubines should reduce their expenses and make a donation so that the victims could survive this disaster. When this move was made, it attracted the praise of countless people. It was a pity that a person like Consort Ancien did not become empress. As for the Imperial Noble Consort, she was arrogant and licentious and liked to enjoy life. She was beautiful, but her character and virtue could not compare to Consort Ancien's. Some courtiers were also restless. The emperor had been on the throne for many years, so it was time to appoint an empress. Even if he doted on the Imperial Noble Consort, shouldn't he appoint a true master of the harem? Besides, the emperor was almost 30 years old and still did not have an heir. Those who did not like the Imperial Noble Consort to begin with once again sent a memorial to impeach her. However, Xinyuan Imo had yet to read these memorials and wanted to take the concubines to experience the people's livelihood. If Guo doesn't want to go, then don't go. Xinyuan Mie was not satisfied. He did not expect his younger brother to have so many tricks up his sleeves. In order to create momentum for a Ningxiang, he came up with such a method. Tanghua put down the book and laughed. Go, why wouldn't I go? It's their chance, and also my chance. After so many years, I've given a Ningxiang a chance to grow. It's time for there to be results. She hung her arms around Xinyuan Mie's neck. Mie, it's time to break the window paper. I don't want to feign civility with Xinyuan Imo. I'm tired. Father's almost done. I know. Xinyuan Mie hugged the petite figure and buried his face in her neck. I will have someone protect Guo along the way. Tanghua smiled. Although my body is a little weak, it's only because of the rainy weather. Usually, there won't be any problems. After all, I've practiced martial arts before. Wasn't that a long time ago? Xinyuan Mie laughed. Tanghua knew that Xinyuan Mie didn't believe her, so she grabbed his wrist and gently twisted it. Her strength really shocked Xinyuan Mie. Then, he heard Tanghua say, Mie, let's compete. Tanghua turned around and drew her sword, which she had found earlier, and attacked Xinyuan Mie. At first, Xin Yuanmia was afraid that he would hurt her, but then he felt that her swordsmanship was extremely exquisite, so he became more serious. Mei Lan, give Amia a sword. Mei Lan did as she was told and turned to watch the door. The more the Empress thought of this idea, the crazier she became. She was actually competing in swordsmanship in her bedchamber. What a good mood. An hour later, Tangwa's face was covered in a thin layer of sweat. Seeing this, Xin Yuanmia stopped and put away his sword. He stepped forward and embraced the enchanting figure tightly in his arms, biting her red lips. After a long time, he let go. Guo, why are you so mesmerizing? Are you bewitched by Amie? I was bewitched the first time and was always distracted. I must hold you in my arms to be at ease. Tangwa was in a good mood. She casually tossed the sword to the side. After the tranquil incense is completed, you and I can be openly exposed in front of others. Amie, you must be prepared to be scolded. Guo, as a woman, isn't afraid. Why would I be? There's no use being afraid. Who told you to attract my attention? Even if I go to hell, I'll drag you down with me. I couldn't ask for more. Chapter 462. This time, Xin Yuanmo brought along all the high-ranking concubines in the palace to visit the victims of the disaster. Including imperial noble consort Tangwa, there were a total of 8 concubines. Even though everything was simple, he still did not intend to wrong these concubines, especially Tangwa and his white moonlight, and Ningxiang. Tangwa took care of them in the open, while Ningxiang took care of them in secret. With so many people, it was inconvenient for Xin Yuanmie to appear here, so he could only follow them in secret. Xin Yuanmo and Tangwa rode in the same carriage, while the other concubines rode in separate carriages. Actually, it had been a long time since Xin Yuanmo was alone with Tangwa in the same room. This carriage was not very spacious, and there were only the two of them. He actually felt a sense of nervousness. He looked at the person leaning against the soft cushion without showing his expression. Compared to the past few years, she was even more outstanding. All these years, he had subconsciously ignored everything about her. Although they met every day, he felt uncomfortable every time they met. He did not know if Imperial Brother was warning him, but he would always leave obvious marks on this person's exposed skin. Is Imperial Noble Consort's health well? Tangwa nodded and smiled. It's fine. The journey was a little bumpy. It's been hard on you. It's not hard. I haven't been out of the palace for many years, so I wanted to come out and take a look. Tangwa's beautiful eyes focused on Xin Yuanmo. I'm very happy to come out with Amo. She lifted the curtain and looked at the scenery outside that flashed past quickly. A faint smile appeared on her face. Amo, all these years, I've always had a feeling. What feeling? Xin Yuanmo unconsciously grabbed at his knees, wrinkling his clothes. Afraid that he would be discovered, he quickly smoothed it out. Tangwa did not turn back. She kept looking outside. Amo, I keep feeling that you are getting further and further away from me. Xin Yuanmo's heart trembled, and he quickly said, Imperial Noble Consort is overthinking. Amo, sometimes you don't even realize it yourself. Tangwa turned around and smiled at Xin Yuanmo. No matter what, Amo used to like me very much and treated me sincerely, right? Xin Yuanmo didn't dare to look directly at her smile. Those bright eyes were too clean, so clean that he didn't dare to face them. It was as if he was a filth that would dirty those eyes. He braced himself and replied, Of course. Other than you, who else have I treated well? I'm very happy to hear that. Tangwa looked at the scenery outside the car window. No matter what happens in the future, as long as Amo treats me well, I have no regrets in this life. Following that, she muttered softly, How can a person's heart remain unchanged? Her voice was too low, and because of the noise of the wheels, Xin Yuanmo did not hear what she said clearly. Imperial Gue Fei always likes to let her imagination run wild. The woman turned back with a smile. Amo, I'm very curious. In the past, when I was the Imperial Consort, you called me Imperial Consort. Now that I'm the Imperial Consort, you call me Imperial Consort. Xin Yuanmo's heart tightened. That's right. Wasn't his form of address a little too distant? Amo, you're so lazy. You're just too lazy to call me by my name. Without waiting for Xin Yuanmo to explain, she found an excuse for him. Xinyuan Imo looked at her coquettish smile and didn't know how to explain, so he remained silent. After a long time, he said, "If you feel uncomfortable, remember to tell me." "I won't." The carriage quietened down. She kept looking at the scenery outside the window, and it actually gave Xinyuan Imo a feeling that she could float away at any time. He wanted to reach out to grab her, but he quickly thought of something and quickly retracted his hand. "Are you hungry?" Xinyuan Imo asked. "I'm not hungry." She looked back and smiled. This smile entered Xinyuan Mo's heart, and he couldn't help but panic, not knowing what to do. Chapter 463. When they arrived at the place where the flood happened, countless commoners were deeply grateful to Xinyuan Imo. Later, they heard that Consort Xian proposed to reduce the expenses of the concubines and use the money saved to help them survive the disaster. For a time, Consort Xian's kind character spread throughout the entire Tianqin kingdom. However, Ningxiang was still neither arrogant nor rash. She dressed more plainly than before and ate and drank more simply. Even in a disaster area, she could eat some coarse grains with relish, as if she was tasting the most delicious food in the world. Many of the ministers couldn't help but nod when they saw this. Such a concubine should be made empress. The ministers who had already made up their minds were thinking about how to bring up this matter so that the emperor wouldn't be disgusted. Tanghua ate corn paste, a cornbread, and a stack of salted vegetables. She sat upright and ate elegantly, but her brows were slightly furrowed. When Ningxiang saw this, her hands clenched tightly in her sleeves. She couldn't help but say, "Imperial noble consort, are you not used to such coarse grains?" "What?" Tanghua raised her eyes and glanced at Ningxiang. She chuckled. "What's there to be unaccustomed to? It's unpalatable, but it's not impossible to eat. When there's time to be picky, this consort is quite picky. When there's no time to be picky, if it's just to fill my stomach, not to mention corn paste, cornbread, or even tree roots, I'll eat them." Ningxiang was silent for a moment before saying, "I didn't expect that such a high and mighty person like Imperial Noble Consort would know about this. This consort likes to read books, all kinds of books. The history of the dynasties, the unofficial history, and the stories passed down by the people are all recorded in them." And Ningxiang didn't say anything. She knew that she should keep a low profile. It was best not to go against this Imperial Noble Consort. All these years, even though she knew a secret, she didn't understand why Xinyuan Imo didn't make a move on Tanghua. Could it be that he really only used Tanghua as his shield? As a woman, she didn't think it was that simple. She touched her lower abdomen without a trace. She was already pregnant. Tanghua noticed Ningxiang's movements. She lowered her eyes and smiled. And Ningxiang was going to have double happiness. Meng Defei and Yin Shufei did not say anything. In fact, many years ago, they had discovered that Ningxiang's position in the imperial palace was very special. Although the emperor didn't openly dote on Ningxiang as women, how could they not feel that the emperor treated Ningxiang differently? This was especially true for Meng Defei. She knew an even more terrifying secret than anyone else. She understood that Ningxiang's status was not ordinary. In addition to what had happened in the past few years, she already understood why the emperor treated the imperial noble consort that way. For Ningxiang, the former beauty Yin, noble lady Yin, concubine Un, and now concubine Xian, the emperor was truly infatuated. For the person he loved, he actually pushed another woman who loved him deeply into the abyss. Concubine Mengda was not feeling well. She did not have much appetite to eat. The imperial noble consort was such a good person. He didn't understand. What could she do? A few years ago, the imperial noble consort had already taught her what it meant to be a heartless emperor. She had led her to a different realm. She didn't care who Xinyuan Imo favored at all. She just felt that it was a pity that such a transparent person like the imperial noble consort had such an encounter. Tanghua received concubine Meng Defei's pitiful gaze and couldn't help laughing. However, the original owner was truly sad and pitiful. As a woman, she had been with someone who didn't love her for many years. Could she really not feel it? Perhaps she felt something was wrong and was just immersed in a beautiful dream. Chapter 464. When the emperor went on an inspection tour, there would always be some melodramatic plot of assassination of the Dog Emperor. Every day, Xianyuan and Mo would bring the two imperial concubines out for inspection. Today, it was Tanghua and Ningxiang's turn. On the way, they were surrounded by a group of black-clothed men. When the emperor went on an inspection tour, there would naturally be experts protecting him, but sometimes there would be gaps for the assassins to take advantage of. For example, when the assassins just appeared, Xianyuan and Mo subconsciously wanted to take care of Tanghua's safety and ignored his own danger. An arrow attacked Xianyuan Mo's back. And Ningxiang, who happened to be standing at the side and was relatively close, but her face was still pale. Without hesitation, she threw herself on Xianyuan Mo's back and blocked the arrow for him. When Xianyuan and Mo came back to his senses, Ningxiang was already half unconscious. He hurriedly hugged Ningxiang in his arms, his face anxious and complicated, as if saying, "Why is there such a foolish woman?" Looking at this scene, Tanghua only raised her eyebrows. Facing the assassins who were still attacking, she did not hesitate to pull out her soft sword and jumped into the group of assassins to fight with them. Xianyuan and Mo clearly did not expect that the usually delicate imperial concubine would actually use a sword to fight against the assassins. Tanghua wasn't polite at all. Her graceful figure swept past the assassins' surroundings. Wherever she passed by, her sword would slit their throats. Only a corpse was left behind. Her dress wasn't stained with blood at all. Whether it was the experts of the imperial palace or the group of assassins who tried to assassinate the emperor, when faced with the beautiful woman holding a long sword, each sword could reap a life. Their scalps were numb. In a short while, more than half of the 20 black-clothed men died under Tanghua's sword. She walked back with the soft sword, her face slightly pale and her forehead covered with a thin layer of sweat. "Mo, are you okay?" She stood there with a smile, still holding the soft sword dripping with blood in her hand. Blood dripped down drop by drop, dyeing the soil red. "Fortunately, the foundation from when I was young is still there. These years, my body is weak, but I did not fall behind. Otherwise, if Mo was in danger, I am afraid that I would not be able to protect you. I originally thought that martial arts were useless, but after today's matter, I still can't fall behind. Mo treats me very well. I finally have a way to repay Mo's kindness." Her steps were a bit light, and she could not even hold the sword. She saw Xianyuan and Mo holding the unconscious Ningxiang and said, "Consort Xian's condition is not good. Mo, take her back for treatment first. If we are late, something bad will happen." Xianyuan and Mo was in a daze. Facing the woman in front of him, he was somewhat absent-minded, but he quickly reacted. Ningxiang's current situation was very bad. Without thinking too much, he carried Ningxiang in his arms. The group of people quickly rushed back and summoned the imperial physician to treat her. Ningxiang's pregnant. Ningxiang's S. Ningxiang's SS. Ningxiang and Ningxiang had already woken up. She looked anxiously at Xianyuan and Mo and Tanghua. The imperial physician thought she was worried about the child, so he said, "The wound is not deep. Your Highness, please don't worry. The fetus is fine." Of A. S. Xianyuan and Mo held her hand and said, "Take care. Jean will explain everything to imperial concubine. The emperor is right. Consort Xian should take care of herself. You are the emperor's concubine. You are the emperor's concubine. The entire Hogong should be happy that you are pregnant. Don't say what you said before. For the emperor, you don't even care about your own life. If Ben Gong blamed you, I don't know what the world would think of Ben Gong." Chapter 465. Consort Xian is virtuous and selfless. You even disregarded your own body for His Majesty. This action shows that you have deep feelings for His Majesty. How can Ben Gong stop your sincerity? Ben Gong has not been pregnant for many years. It can be seen that we are not fated to have children. Consort Xian should take good care of the fetus. Xianyuan and Mo couldn't say the words that he had prepared. Today's matter was truly unexpected. He didn't expect that someone would dare to assassinate him in public. And Ningxiang blocked the sword for him. He was even more moved. His decision to make Ningxiang his empress couldn't be changed. He thought that Tangwa would make a big fuss when she found out that Ning Xiang was pregnant. He didn't expect her to say such tolerant words. In his impression, the imperial Gue Fei should be used to pampering and dominating. She shouldn't be able to see other consorts by his side. Thinking of how the imperial Gue Fei killed the assassins with a sword just now, his eyes couldn't move away from her. He suddenly found that the imperial Gue Fei was really mesmerizing. Her entire body was filled with an aura that made people fall head over heels for her. His Majesty must have many things to say to Consort Ancien. I won't disturb you. Tangwa turned to leave. Consort Mingda bowed and hurriedly followed out. Fei thought for a bit. After a few words of condolence, she also left. Consort Mingda chased Tangwa to her room. When she entered, she saw Tangwa's pale face. She sighed and called out, Is Imperial Gue Fei Jejuel? I'm fine. Tangwa used a snow-white handkerchief to wipe the blood-stained sword. I haven't fought in a long time. My body is actually so weak. Consort Mingda had also heard the previous matter. It was said that most of the assassins had been killed by the Imperial Gue Fei. She thought, as expected, she didn't know enough about the Imperial Gue Fei. This kind of peerless beauty was actually just a consort in the inner palace. She stepped forward and held Tangwa's hand. She found that Tangwa's hands were cold. She was shocked. Do you want a Tai to come take a look? I only brought out 2 Tai. Who will come take a look? The Imperial Gue Fei's health is important. It's fine. She'll be fine after resting. Consort Mingda's lips were bitter. I've wronged you. No. Tangwa asked Mei Lan to make some hot tea. After drinking it, she felt much more comfortable. She leaned against the cushion and said, Get ready. We'll be returning to the palace soon. Mingda Fei didn't know what to say. In the end, she could only whisper the news she received to Tangwa's ear. Papa sent news. This official is preparing to ask the emperor to confer the title of empress to Ancien Fei. Sister, do you have any ideas? Nothing. I've been waiting for this day. Consort Mingda was surprised. Did the imperial noble consort know all along? Then, he smiled bitterly. That's right. How could such a smart girl not notice it? Haven't they experienced the imperial noble consort's methods all these years? Big sister, if you feel bored in the future, feel free to look for us. Consort Mingda did not say anything more. There were many things that a small consort like her could not change. The only thing she could do was to tell Tangwa what she knew. There was nothing else she could do. General, we didn't expect that an Imperial Gue Fei would come out of nowhere and kill all the men of sacrifice we trained. General An's expression was not good. Then, he remembered the news he received. Forget it. Let's just pretend that it didn't happen. Fortunately, we achieved our goal. When Ningxiang is conferred, all the sacrifices will be worth it. The emperor would confer the title of Ningxiang. But from his daughter's words, he had to push for it to avoid any changes because of the imperial noble consort. Chapter 466. Consort Ancien's conduct was good. Consort Ancien was pregnant. Consort Ancien didn't care about her own safety and blocked a sword for the emperor. When these things were connected, the court officials became more and more confident in asking for Ning Xiang to be conferred the title of empress. But Xinyuan Imo didn't immediately agree. He said he needed 2 days to consider this matter. Xinyuan Imo came to Tangwa's palace. Since that day, she didn't seem to have recovered. Her expression was filled with exhaustion. He didn't know why, but he couldn't bear to say what he was about to say. But every time he thought of how Ning Xiang blocked a sword for him and risked her life for him a second time, his previous thoughts faded. The court officials asked for Consort Ancien to be conferred the title of empress. Xinyuan Imo said, Jean has no choice but to agree this time. Tangwa raised her eyes and smiled at Xinyuan Imo. Amo doesn't need to be troubled by me. I'm already satisfied that Amo has doted on me all these years. Consort Ancien being loved by the court officials and the people is naturally a good thing. Hearing these general words, Xinyuan Imo actually felt a bit of anger. Imperial Gue Fei doesn't have any other thoughts? His voice unconsciously became a bit higher. After saying this, he felt that something wasn't right. His tone softened. Imperial Gue Fei, if you're sad, say it. If I say it, Will the emperor change his mind and not confer the title of consort in Xian? She stared straight at Xin Yuan and Mo, making him flustered. Of course not. She lowered her head. So, whether I say it or not, what's the difference? I've never forgotten that Amo is an emperor. An emperor has his own helplessness. If I force you, I'll only be making things difficult for you. Xin Yuan and Mo didn't know what to say. Amo, as long as you treat me sincerely, it's fine. She looked at him with misty eyes. I also want to say something to you. Don't confer the title of consort in Xian, okay? But I don't have the confidence. I'm just an imperial Gue Fei. I only have Amo behind me. If my father was here, I could make a big fuss with you. But now that my father isn't here, if I make a fuss, the court officials will only say that Imperial Gue Fei is jealous, pestering endlessly, extravagant and lascivious. Your conduct is not good, and you seduce the emperor. Xin Yuan and Mo opened his mouth, not knowing how to reply. He suddenly realized that in these years, the Imperial Gue Fei had actually changed. Mo, you came here today to tell me that if I object, you will not establish an empress. You will protect me no matter what happens. Even if I have to bear the infamy of being a demoness who brings calamity to the country, I will fight for myself. She grabbed Xin Yuan Mo's hand. Mo, do you dare? Xin Yuan Mo was in a difficult situation. Did he dare? This wasn't about whether he dared or not. His original goal was to make Ningxiang his empress. Why, when he remained calm and patted the back of Tangwa's hand. I'm very pleased that the Imperial Gue Fei can be so righteous. After saying that, he didn't dare to look at her. He wanted to know her reaction, so he met her gaze. To answer. She lowered her eyes and chuckled. I understand. Xin Yuan and Mo left awkwardly. He felt that he did something wrong, but he couldn't find the right direction. When he returned to the secret room, he couldn't help but meet Xin Yuan Mia. I want to confer Ningxiang as the empress. I told the Imperial Gue Fei today. Xin Yuan Mia said coldly, in front of me, second brother can call her imperial sister-in. Xin Yuan and Mo was stunned. Imperial sister-in-law? Why did he feel so uncomfortable? He subconsciously ignored the fact that the Imperial Gue Fei was already his imperial sister-in-law secretly. She was the one who was cherished by his imperial brother. Chapter 467. On the second day of court, the courtiers once again requested for a Ningxiang to be the empress. Xin Yuan and Mo agreed without hesitation. He placed his hands firmly on the armrest. When he said the word approved, he did not feel as happy as he had imagined. Instead, his heart felt heavy and uncomfortable. Sitting at the top, he watched as the courtiers congratulated General and with joy on their faces. The joy on the faces of the family's father and son could not be concealed. He felt even more uncomfortable. He waved his hand and dismissed the court early. With today's goal achieved, the courtiers did not dare to say anything more to anger Xin Yuan and Mo. They tactfully did not mention the matter of impeaching the imperial noble consort. The imperial noble consort was only an imperial noble consort. Her status could not compare to the empress. The conferment of the empress was a major event. Xin Yuan and Mo ordered people to prepare the conferment ceremony and ordered the imperial astronomer to choose an auspicious day. After the court, the news of the empress being conferred slowly spread. Countless commoners also cheered. Concubine in Xian had a good character and was the mother of the heavenly Qin kingdom. Almost no one objected to it. The moment Ningxiang received the imperial edict, no matter how indifferent she was, her heart was filled with ecstasy. She repeatedly rewarded the eunuch who read the edict. The harem was much quieter than the outside. They did not know the situation, so the low-ranking masters who had just entered the palace were all discussing in low voices. So what if the imperial noble consort was favored? She was still a mere imperial noble consort. She would never be able to become the mother of a country. Besides, the imperial noble consort only looked favored. There was nothing behind her, and no one supported her. Even if she wanted to be the empress, no one would support her. After Ningxiang received the edict, she was greeted by the concubines one after another. It was different from before. Now that she was the empress, she naturally could not avoid meeting them. For a time, all the concubines in the palace stood on Ningxiang's side. As for consort Mingda, consort Inshu, and the others, they chose not to leave the palace. After Xinyuanmo issued the edict, they only sent people to congratulate Ningxiang and did not come personally. Many people guessed that consort Mingda and the others were feeling unbalanced and were hiding to sulk. They were indeed hiding and sulking, but they were not angry for themselves. A few years ago, they had lost interest in the so-called love of the emperor. Now, he was locked up in the palace only because of one person's injustice. On the other hand, the imperial Gui Fei, who should have been unhappy and uncomfortable, actually brought people to admire flowers, drink tea, and recite poems every day. Her days were unusually comfortable, which made people feel depressed for a while. After Ningxiang heard the news, she also felt that it was very strange. The imperial noble consort should like Amo very much. Every time they saw the imperial noble consort looking at the emperor, her eyes were filled with deep love. At this time, the other party should not be too happy. Ningxiang stroked her belly. She didn't plan to show off in front of the imperial noble consort. She was already the empress and pregnant. Amo had always treated her sincerely. In the future, the crown prince of the heavenly Qin state would also be her son. There was really no point in arguing with an imperial Gui Fei who had no children but only a title. If the imperial noble consort didn't provoke her in the future, she wouldn't do anything to her either. Who knew what Amo was thinking? She always felt that he treated the imperial Gui Fei differently. Ningxiang did not take the initiative to look for him, so it was inevitable that they would bump into each other in the imperial garden. Tanghua saw her. As the empress, she naturally could not avoid her. She was supported by others as she walked over. Imperial noble consort. Now that she saw Tanghua, she didn't need to address her respectfully. In fact, she felt a little comfortable in her heart. Just as she was waiting for the imperial noble consort to bow to her, Tanghua didn't stand up. She only nodded at her. "Congratulations, Empress." Ningxiang felt uncomfortable in her heart. Thinking that she hadn't been conferred yet, she didn't care. However, her personal palace maid, Chun Shui, berated, "Shouldn't the imperial noble consort stand up and bow when she sees the empress?" Chapter 468. When Chun Shui opened her mouth, Ningxiang felt that something was wrong. But once the words came out of her mouth, she couldn't back down. If she scolded her head maid, it would make her seem weak. If word got out that she, the empress, was afraid of an imperial noble concubine, she would become the laughingstock of the entire palace and even the entire Tianqin kingdom. Therefore, she had to wait for the imperial noble concubine to bow to her today. Tanghua couldn't help but laugh in her heart and ridicule the system. That Chun Shui is a pig teammate, right? She's just a mere palace maid, yet she dares to scold me to my face. If I don't bow to the empress, I'll be called arrogant at most. And she's just a little palace maid. She scolded me and offended me. I can already reward her with 10 feet of red. Dear host, isn't it written in the plot that Chun Shui is a pig teammate who sets obstacles for the female lead and causes trouble? Tanghua came to a realization. I forgot that Ningxiang's main plot has just begun. Ningxiang had been waiting for Tanghua's reaction. She didn't expect the other party to be in a daze, holding a handkerchief with both hands. The imperial noble concubine was too arrogant. Chun Shui couldn't keep her cool. Calling you imperial noble concubine is out of respect for you. In the past, the empress was concubine in Xian, so she should bow to you. Now that the master is the empress, I ask imperial noble concubine to abide by the rules. Tanghua was puzzled. Chun Shui had been by Ningxiang's side for so many years and immersed in the palace. Didn't she learn anything? Did she really think that Ningxiang's position was stable after she became the empress? Ningxiang was the empress and the only person the emperor doted on. Her opponents were the concubines of the entire harem. She had been careful all her life. On the surface, she had to deal with the matters of the harem fairly, but in secret, she had to guard against countless schemes. Ningxiang was really tired of being the empress. "What's your name?" Tanghua stared at Chun Shui with a smile. Chuanxue wanted to hold her head high, but when she met those clear eyes, she couldn't help but take half a step back and said weakly, "This servant's name is Chuanxue? You also know that I'm just an imperial noble concubine, and your master is the empress. Then, you know that you're just a little palace maid, and I'm the imperial noble concubine." His words made Chuanxue's face pale. Even Ningxiang was a little nervous. "Meilong, this consort really doesn't like people pointing and berating in front of me. Slap them. Imperial noble consort." And Ningxiang was a little anxious. "Chuanxue is this consort's person. Shouldn't the imperial noble consort ask this consort before dealing with her?" Tangwa sneered. "The empress is not strict enough. Today, I was reasonable and knew that Chuanxue's behavior did not represent the empress, nor was it your order. That's why I didn't create a rift with the empress. I heard that Chuanxue has been with the empress since she was a child. The people around her are all pleasing to the eye. No matter how you look at them, you won't find anything wrong with them. Naturally, you will overlook her shortcomings. This is the imperial palace. If something like this happens to Chuanxue again, she might lose her life the next time. See, this consort only wanted to slap her. It's not like this consort wants her head. How benevolent is this? Meilong, do it. Teach this girl a lesson so that she won't think that she can strut around just because she has the empress as her backer. She doesn't care about the empress's face and causes trouble for the empress everywhere. In the end, the empress is the one who gets implicated. In the end, if word gets out, people outside will say that the empress is not strict enough, is incompetent, and doesn't deserve to be the empress. This consort doesn't want to see such a thing happen. The empress is pregnant and shouldn't see such a scene. Leave the matter of punishing the palace maids to me. Mei Qing, escort the empress back to the palace. Be careful." Before Ningxiang could react, she was helped away by a nimble palace maid. It wasn't until they walked far away that Chuanxue's screams came from behind, which made her scalp tingle. Chapter 469. Meilong didn't hold back. She hated Xinyuan Imo and Ningxiang, so she didn't dare to do anything to them. She didn't hold back for a little Chuanxue in front of her. She slapped her a few times. She had also practiced martial arts since she was a child, so her slap was especially heavy. Chuanxue's cheeks swelled immediately. She was overjoyed. Everyone in the palace thought that her Nyang was favored, but who knew how much grievance her Nyang had suffered? Hypocritical people were hypocritical. Heartless people were fickle. Slap. Slap. Meilong's expression was cold as she slapped Chuanxue's face. A little palace maid dared to humiliate her consort. Who did she think she was? If she hadn't restrained herself, she would have killed Chuanxue on the spot. So what if she was conferred the title of empress? Did her consort care for it? Of course not. Meilong also knew a secret over the years. The general didn't die, but went to do something big. When she heard the news, she really cried with joy. God finally had eyes. Later, she found out that Xinyuan Imo wanted to frame the general for treason. It was really ridiculous. The general had been loyal to the country since he was a teenager. If it weren't for her consort's reminder, Xinyuan Imo might have succeeded. Her consort would have been wronged and banished to the cold palace. Xinyuan Imo was fickle, and Xinyuan Mie doted on her consort wholeheartedly. The general was still alive and would be a great support for her consort in the future. She asked her consort why she didn't leave. She thought she couldn't let go of Xinyuan Imo. Later, she understood that she couldn't let go of her hatred for Xinyuan Imo and stayed here only for revenge. If he left quietly, wouldn't that be letting Xinyuan Imo and Ningxiang take advantage of him? Enough. Seeing that Chuanxue was about to faint, Tangwa stopped Meilong, who still wanted to beat her. Don't kill her. Treat her injuries. Don't send her back to the empress for the time being, so that she won't be scared. Yes. Meilong stopped, glanced at Chuanxue, whose face couldn't be seen, and waved her hand. Take her to the side hall, and send her back to the empress when her face is healed. Anyone who dared to bully her imperial noble consort should be prepared to be slapped in the face. The current Meilong was extremely confident. Soon, the news that the imperial noble consort had hit the empress's personal palace made spread throughout the inner palace. When Xinyuan Imo heard the news, He immediately rushed to Ningxiang's palace to comfort her. Now that Ningxiang was pregnant, why didn't this imperial Gui Fei look at the right time to throw a tantrum? Ningxiang, I've wronged you. Xinyuan Imo held Ningxiang's hand and pulled her into his embrace. Zhen will find the imperial noble consort to settle the score later. I don't think so. Imperial noble consort is probably still angry. That's why she's taking it out on Chuanxue. And Ningxiang couldn't take it lying down after being humiliated in public today. The imperial noble consort was really too arrogant. When other people talked about her in the past, she didn't experience it because she didn't have much contact with them. It was only today that she truly understood that the imperial noble consort's temper was indeed not good. She smiled and hit people when she said she wanted to. She was also eloquent and didn't give people a chance to react at all. There was also that two palace maids, Mei Lan and Mei Qing, who were each more powerful than the other. She couldn't break free from Mei Qing's support all the way back. She wanted to scold them, but Mei Qing said with a respectful expression, "This servant doesn't dare to let go of your highness. If your highness falls and gets hurt, then it's this servant's fault." It really made her feel suffocated, and she couldn't vent it no matter what. It was one thing for the imperial noble consort to hit people, but she still wanted to leave Chuanxue there to recuperate. Wasn't this a blatant slap to her face? I'm a bit worried about Chuanxue. Tell the imperial noble consort to return Chuanxue to me. I'll teach Chuanxue well in the future. That girl is impatient and can't bear to see me suffer. Chapter 470. Imperial Noble Consort, Zhen came to ask you for a person. Chun Shui has been with the Empress since she was young. Let her go. Xinyuan Imo told Ningxiang that he came to settle accounts with the Imperial Noble Consort. In fact, on the way here, he received a letter from his older brother. The content of the letter was, "Do you dare to touch my woman?" Looking at that sentence, Xinyuan Imo felt like a basin of cold water had been poured over his head. Yes, his imperial brother had warned him more than once that the imperial noble consort was actually his imperial sister-in-law. Originally, it was impossible to settle accounts, so he could only change it to asking for a person. But those words had been lingering in his mind for a long time. He was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, but what could he do? The reality was that the imperial noble consort only had a nominal relationship with him. This relationship was made by him. He was afraid to tell her the truth. It was a kind of fear from the bottom of his heart that he subconsciously ignored. Emperor, you came to ask for someone? Tangwa smiled and lowered her head. I thought you came to make trouble for me. Xinyuan Imo ignored the fact that the imperial Gui Fei no longer called him Imo. Instead, she called him Your Majesty. Now that he remembered how delicate and pitiful Ningxiang was, and how she was pregnant with his only child, he had no choice but to satisfy her small request. The imperial noble consort's anger has been vented. Can Jin take her away? The whole world belongs to the emperor. If you want something, just take it away. Why do you need to ask me? Xinyuan Imo only thought that she was angry, so he didn't care about it. Instead, he was angry that she was conferred the title of Empress. He faintly felt some joy in his heart. The imperial noble consort cared about him, so she was angry because she was conferred the title of Empress, right? Xinyuan Imo looked at Tangwa, who was different from before. All eyes were on him, and his heart was slightly blocked. Then he thought that she might be angry because she cared about him too much, so he became happy again. Jin will take her away. If the imperial noble consort likes something, Zhen will have someone send it over later. Tangwa raised her head at this time. The corners of her mouth curved. I like gold and silver. If the emperor really feels guilty, why don't you give me some more money? The last time the empress proposed to reduce my expenses, I went from changing my clothes 3 times a day to only changing once a day. Many of my belongings were also sold. Tangwa lazily propped up her chin. I'm used to living a luxurious life. I'm really not used to living in poverty. Xinyuan Imo sized up the decorations in the palace. There were indeed fewer of them. All the concubines and concubines in the imperial harem had indeed suffered greatly because of that sentence. All right, Zhen will send it to Imperial Gui Fei in a moment. You must not wrong yourself. Tangwa smiled. Many thanks for the emperor's reward. Now, I won't wrong myself. After a pause, she continued, I'll have to trouble the emperor to tell the empress that it was you who allowed me to not have to bow to anyone. Even if it's you, I don't need to bow. Yes. Xinyuan Imo thought of this and understood why the imperial noble consort wanted to punish Chuanxue. He was a little displeased with Chuanxue. Everyone in the palace should know about this. He definitely wouldn't take back what he had said. Even if he wanted to take it back, it was impossible. Would Imperial Brother let the person in front of him bow to his empress? Then, Your Majesty, you can take Chuanxue back. I hope you can have a good talk with the empress to prevent this kind of problem from happening next time. Xinyuan Imo met the eyes that were different from before and panicked. He subconsciously ignored them and hurriedly left with Chuanxue, whose face was swollen. Chuanxue thought that Xinyuan Imo would punish the imperial noble consort. She didn't expect that he just came to take her away. She felt indignant. Chapter 471. Not long after, Xinyuan Imo delivered a box of gold to Tanghua. When she opened the box, the glittering gold made her beam. She took out a few pieces of gold and threw them to Mei Qing and Mei Lan. Go and get something good for yourself. The two of them did not stand on ceremony and happily kept the gold. They understood that the box of gold would be sent away very soon. Mei Lan and Mei Qing both shuddered. Her Highness was really amazing. She used Xinyuan Mo's money to build her own empire. Tanghua took out a map and looked at it silently. Seeing this, the two of them quickly went out to guard the door. Xinyuan Mie sneaked in and sat quietly beside her. He put his chin on her shoulder and looked very intimate. He glanced at the map. This is. My father built this empire. Xinyuan Mie could not help but laugh. I heard that my stupid brother gave you a box of gold?
Yes.
The box was placed beside her. Tanghua kicked open the lid and the glittering gold appeared in front of her eyes. Do you want to pick two to play with? I don't want to play with gold. I'm only interested in Guo. Xinyuan Imo wrapped his arms around her waist. Do you want me to help Guo or send it out? Who else could it be if not you? Xinyuan Mie was happy. He quickly kissed her on the cheek and looked at the map again. The map was very big. When he saw the various markings on it, his expression became strange. Guo, are you and father-in-law really just occupying a small area? Yes. Isn't it just a small area? Do you know that the ground should be round? The area on this map is just a small part. Isn't it just a small area? Xinyuan Mie was indifferent, but the corners of his mouth were twitching. He tightened his arms around her waist. Guo, let father-in-law expand the territory slowly. If he continues to expand, I won't be worthy of you. It's fine as long as I like you. Since that's the case, I'm relieved. It's fine as long as Guo doesn't dislike me. Xinyuan Mie smiled and kissed her cheek. I was waiting for Guo to say that. Tanghua chuckled. Why would I dislike you? In this world, there's probably no one cuter than you. She couldn't find anyone who was more tactful, intelligent, and didn't give her trouble at all. Xinyuan Mie didn't care about external items. He just wasn't interested. This person was smart and powerful, many times more powerful than Xinyuan Imo. If he had the heart, the heavenly Qin kingdom would have long been in his pocket. How could a mere Xinyuan Imo be his match? As expected of someone who could arouse her interest every time. She pointed at the desolate areas on the map. Father, in order to protect me from being bullied, in order to protect himself from being bullied by Xinyuan Imo, he would still feel sad in his heart. Father has become a savior of the world. He has a goal and countless people he wants to protect. When he does these things, he will feel more comfortable. He was originally a famous general with outstanding military achievements. Xinyuan Imo wanted to frame him for treason. He didn't say anything, but his heart was cold. If he is loved by countless people one day, these things won't matter. He has always been a person full of justice and love. He wants to protect me, so I want him to protect me righteously. I want him to have a group of people behind him to support him and protect me. Xinyuan Mie stared at the woman in high spirits in front of him. He buried his head in her neck and took a deep breath. Countless people will thank Guo for her decision. Chapter 472. and Ningxiang felt uncomfortable. She thought that Xinyuan Imo would reprimand and punish the imperial noble consort. She didn't expect that he would only bring Chuanxue back. He told her, "Imperial noble consort, you don't have to bow to anyone." He also told her to warn the palace servants not to provoke the imperial noble consort. And Ningxiang didn't care about the imperial noble consort's high status. What she cared about was Xinyuan Mo's strange attitude towards the imperial noble consort. If he really used her as a shield, now that she was the empress, there should be no need for the imperial noble consort's existence. Her father was a general, and her brother's position in the imperial court was not bad. She didn't need any shield at all. She was still the empress. In the future, would she still have to act according to the imperial noble consort's mood? Sullen in her heart. Soon, it would be the coronation ceremony. No matter how uncomfortable Ningxiang felt, she didn't dare to make any mistakes. For now, it was better to avoid the imperial noble consort. The harem was watching. The empress and the imperial noble consort were facing each other for the first time. Who would win? No one expected that the winner would be the imperial noble consort. Even consort Mingda and consort Inshu were very surprised. They didn't close their doors and went to Tangwa's palace to find out. When they arrived, they found that the imperial noble consort was in a good mood making flower tea. The two looked at each other with some joy. They were lucky today. The imperial noble consort's various skills were unparalleled. Many people couldn't compare to her tea-making skills. The more outstanding the imperial noble consort was, the more they thought that their emperor was blind. And Ningxiang wasn't bad, but she couldn't compare to the imperial noble consort. They still didn't know that the person who came to the palace at night was not Xinyuan Imo. If they knew the truth, they would be very surprised. Sister imperial noble consort, you're in a good mood today. Consort Mingda looked at the teapot eagerly. Tangwa saw this and poured a cup for both of them. The two didn't speak and drank tea first. After drinking it, one would feel refreshed and refreshed. It was very comfortable. How could they not be refreshed? This tea was not ordinary. They asked for it from Ziyun. By the way, great host, do you find these people particularly pleasing to the eye? You actually entertained them with spiritual tea. They're quite pleasing to the eye. Since they've cooperated with this consort's plot, I should at least give them some compensation. Now, they're still thinking of this consort wholeheartedly. Every day, they feel pity for this consort. I should treat them better. I have a feeling that things aren't as simple as they seem. Dear host, you often do bad things in the name of doing things for your own good. The system couldn't help but mutter. The host's character would never change. She might be good to them, but she definitely had a motive. After following the host for so many years, he deeply understood that there was no such thing as being good to someone for no reason. No matter who was good to someone, there was at least some purpose behind it. Nothing was done for no reason. Well, I do have a purpose. Tangwa smiled and said, I want these concubines who are pleasing to the eye to stay young and beautiful for a longer time. I want them to play happily in the palace for the rest of their lives and live a comfortable life. They will live better than anyone else. The words were good, but the system felt a chill run down its spine. Then what? And then? Tangwa smiled. Then, and Ningxiang watched as a group of sisters older than her remained young and beautiful their entire lives. They clearly didn't have Xinyuan Mo's love, so why were they able to live so comfortably and happily? Tongzi, do you think my repayment is good? Good. Super good. It's simply wonderful. The system silently lit a candle for Ningxiang. The host clearly didn't do anything to Ningxiang, but she made Ningxiang suffer so much that she wished she was dead. What a vengeful and narrow-minded host. Chapter 473. My two younger sisters, if you have nothing to do, you can come to my place more often, Tangwa said with a faint smile. Recently, I have learned some new methods of making tea and found some good recipes for facial masks. If you're interested, you can come and try. Consort Mengda and Consort Inshufei nodded repeatedly. They couldn't ask for more. The imperial noble consort's facial masks were very useful. Previously, after they had insomnia, their skin was particularly rough the next day. Later, They asked the imperial noble consort for advice and taught them how to make facial masks. After applying them for 3 days, their skin was really white and tender, better than before. Not only did the imperial noble consort know how to make facial masks, but she also knew how to make lipstick and powder, which were better than the ones bought outside and offered as tribute. Also, the imperial noble consort would share some beauty recipes with them, which were not too greasy or too light. After using them every day, their complexion improved a lot. The imperial noble consort was really a treasure. The two silently praised her in their hearts and had decided to hold on to her for the rest of their lives. They weren't fools. Last time, when the imperial noble consort and the empress confronted each other, Xianyuan Imo didn't dare to do anything to the imperial noble consort. It was obvious that there were many secrets, and the imperial noble consort had been in the palace all this time. Why would she have these unexpected things? It was worth thinking about. After thinking about it, the imperial noble consort must have some extraordinary tricks up her sleeves. She was not the imperial noble consort without a backer, as people said in front of them. In the first batch of old imperial concubines, besides a Ningxiang who was the empress, only Lan Zhaoi stood on a Ningxiang side. The rest of them ran to Tangwa's place all day long. The strange thing was that these imperial concubines often ridiculed each other and played tricks on each other, but they liked to go to the imperial noble consort's palace to make trouble. Just like before, many imperial concubines came out with red eyes every time. They even stomped at the door and left angrily. The imperial noble consort's temper is too bad. This was the palace servant's discussion carefully. She can't stand it. She calls these imperial concubines over all day long. No wonder. The imperial noble consort has always been favored. Now that she is not the empress and the coronation ceremony is about to be held, it's normal for her to feel uncomfortable. It's a pity that the other imperial concubines have to suffer her anger. The two palace maids discussed for a while. When they heard a commotion in the distance, they were afraid of being heard, so they quickly ran away. Imperial Gue Fei has a bad temper? He Zhaoyuan walked out of the shadows and looked speechlessly at Su Zhaorong. Are they sure? Actually, the imperial noble consort has a bad temper sometimes. Su Zhaorong agreed. For example, when someone provokes her, she doesn't care about their feelings. She will deal with them first. He Zhaoyuan couldn't help but laugh when she thought of the empress's maid, Chuanxue, being taught a lesson. That's true. After that incident, Xianyuan Imo also personally said that the imperial noble consort did not need to salute anyone she met, which was really strange, but imperial noble consort really didn't torment us. He Zhaoyuan curled her lips. What did these people know? Who was it that spread the news that the imperial Gue Fei mistreated us? Imperial Gue Fei still occasionally torments us. Su Zhaorong played with the newly applied Danko. For example, when we play cards, Imperial Gue Fei will make the other side lose their doo-doo. He Zhaoyuan gritted her teeth. Su Zhaorong, be careful of your mouth. Who lost the doo-doo? Yo. Some people have already lost the doo-doo 3 times and still want to pretend that other people don't know? Su Zhaorong mocked her impolitely. Seeing that He Zhaoyuan's eyes were red and about to explode in anger, she hurriedly grabbed the maid's hand and shouted anxiously, "Hurry and help Bin Gong leave. Later, a lunatic will bite Bin Gong." Su Zhaorong, stop for Bin Gong. Stop? Su Zhaorong, you bitch. He Zhaoyuan shouted loudly. She looked angry and stomped her feet in place. It looked like she was at a disadvantage when talking to Su Zhaorong. The palace maids and eunuchs in the distance all lowered their heads. See, the harem wasn't peaceful. Every day, there were concubines who had a good relationship with each other. Chapter 474. Finally, it was time for the coronation ceremony. And Ningxiang wore the empress's court uniform and finally felt relieved. From today onwards, she was the mother of the heavenly Qin kingdom, the most honorable woman. After going through all the complicated formalities, Xianyuan Imo held her hand and stood side by side in front of the officials to accept the worship of the officials. When she was worshipped by countless people, her mood was also surging. No one could resist this feeling. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Her entire body was already tense, afraid that something would go wrong. The other concubines, even the imperial noble concubine, could not appear in front of the officials to accept the worship. Her mood improved a lot. From today onwards, she would be in charge of the harem. Xinyuan Mo's mood was different from Ningxiang's. He had clearly held Ningxiang's hand and achieved his goal. Why was his heart empty and not as happy as he had imagined? Wasn't this his goal? What he had always yearned for? Why did he only feel bitter in his heart and think of another face? Xinyuan Mo had lied to himself countless times, but he couldn't lie to himself during the coronation ceremony. He had feelings for the imperial noble concubine. He actually had feelings for her. Why was it so laughable? Why was it so laughable? Thinking that it would never be possible between him and the imperial noble concubine, he used some strength in his hand. Ningxiang frowned slightly and withdrew her hand. Only then did Xinyuan Mo react. He said in a low voice, "I'm a little nervous." Ningxiang's heart sank. Really? Why did she feel that it wasn't like that? What was Mo thinking just now? She felt very uneasy. Mo, are you thinking about the imperial noble concubine? The joy of being conferred the title of empress was washed away by a lot. Ningxiang's smile also faded a lot. On the second day of the empress's coronation, she would receive the greetings of the concubines in the harem. After the ceremony ended, Xinyuan Mo sent Ningxiang back to the palace. Tonight, he would openly stay in the empress's palace. He had feelings for the imperial noble concubine, so he felt a little guilty towards Ningxiang. Mo, can you always stay in my palace from now on? Ningxiang probed. I really want to get along with Mo openly. Xinyuan Mo's heart softened, and he agreed. He also forgot that he had thought of the imperial noble consort and had fallen in love with her. Zhen will of course accompany Ningxiang in the future. Mo, this is great. Ningxiang caressed her belly. Mo, do you think I'll give birth to a little prince or a little princess? No matter if it's a little prince or a little princess, I like them all. Ningxiang was satisfied. Then let's have a little prince. Mo needs a prince. Xinyuan Mo felt even more apologetic towards Ningxiang, and he said, my children will all have Ningxiang's next life. Is that all right? Ningxiang let out a sigh of relief. Really? Mo, I thought you had feelings for the imperial noble consort. She lowered her head. If the imperial noble consort doesn't have anyone else, I won't object. But, Ningxiang, don't think too much. It's impossible for Zhen and the imperial Gue Fei to be together. Moreover, it's impossible for her to have children. Xinyuan Mo's head heated up, and he spoke too much. After he finished speaking, he stared blankly. He remembered that the imperial Gue consort still had the habit of using calming incense during her afternoon nap, right? Thinking of this, his heart tightened. Ningxiang was completely relieved, and she fell asleep in Xinyuan Mo's arms. The next day, Xinyuan Mo came to the secret room to discuss something with Xinyuan Mie. You mean, you won't go to Guo-er's palace in the future?
Yes.
Xinyuan Mo hesitated for a moment. After all, the person I like is Ningxiang. He thought for a long time. It would never be possible between him and the imperial noble consort. Chapter 475. That won't do. Xinyuan Mie shook his head. You don't have to go during the day, but you have to go at night. What I mean is, I'll go at night. Xinyuan Mo felt uncomfortable, but then he remembered Xinyuan Mie's fondness for Tanghua, so he could only compromise. All right, from now on, the nights will be divided into two halves. One half will go to Ningxiang's side, and the other half will go to Imperial Gue Fei's side. Xinyuan Mie smiled in satisfaction. All right, you don't have to go to Imperial Gue Fei's side during the day. You can just go see your empress. Ningxiang knew the reason, and Tanghua also knew the reason. But Xinyuan Mo and Ningxiang didn't know that Tanghua actually knew the truth. Xinyuan Mie narrowed his eyes. If it wasn't for the fact that it wasn't the right time, he wouldn't have patiently played hide and seek with them. Xinyuan Mo told Ningxiang about this at night. Even though Ningxiang knew that Xinyuan Mo would be in her palace every day, she still felt uncomfortable. Then she heard that Xinyuan Mo wouldn't go to Tanghua's side during the day. In reality, Xinyuan Mo never went to Imperial Gue Fei's palace at night or during the day. She felt comfortable again. Just like this, Xinyuan Imo continued to reward Imperial Gue Fei in name, and Imperial Gue Fei also took up half of his time at night. But many people still understood that Imperial Gue Fei's glory wasn't as good as before. Instead, it was the Empress, who was pregnant, who won the Emperor's favor. Later, everyone found that the Emperor really doted on the Empress. He always called the Empress Ningxiang, and they strolled in the Imperial Garden together. Every day, he would visit her during the day and eat together. The Empress would also often send food to the Imperial study, and the Emperor even allowed her to stay inside. Everyone knew who the Emperor doted on. One day, Tanghua came to the Imperial Garden and coincidentally met Xinyuan Imo supporting the pot-bellied Ningxiang as they strolled around the garden. What a coincidence, Emperor, Empress. Tanghua stood beside the flowers. Even if there were hundreds of flowers competing, they couldn't compare to her beauty. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and she swept past the two with a smile, finally landing on those delicate flowers. The scenery here is really good. No wonder the Emperor and Empress like it. And Ningxiang didn't expect to encounter such a scene, and quickly grabbed Xinyuan Mo's hand. Xinyuan Mo thought that she was not feeling well, so he quickly supported her and asked carefully, "What's wrong? Do you want to go back and rest?" "No, I just met the Imperial Noble Consort. I'm afraid it's not good to leave now. Your Highness the Empress is not feeling well. You should go back and rest." And Ningxiang pursed her lips and felt uncomfortable. The Imperial Noble Consort didn't seem to care about her at all. At this moment, Eunuch came to report that there was an urgent matter that Xinyuan Imo had to deal with. He originally wanted to send Ningxiang back, but Ningxiang was unwilling. She even said, "Nothing will happen. I believe in the Imperial Noble Consort." Imperial Noble Consort, the Empress is pregnant. You should speak more politely and manage your subordinates well. Xinyuan Imo recalled what happened last time and couldn't help but warn. After he finished speaking, he saw that the woman wasn't angry. She merely stared at him with a smile. He fled in panic. Why did that smile seem to see through everything? He didn't dare to face it and could only leave quickly with Eunuch. His steps were very messy. The two sat together in the pavilion. Tanghua leisurely drank hot tea while admiring the flowers and watching the fish swimming in the lake. She looked very satisfied. I didn't expect the Imperial Noble Consort to be in such a leisurely mood. She originally thought that the Imperial Noble Consort would make a big fuss about Xinyuan Mo's change. She didn't expect the other party to be able to keep her cool. Chapter 476. Ben Gong has always been someone who knows how to enjoy. Tanghua didn't raise her head as she focused on the fish fighting for food in the water below, but Empress's complexion isn't too good. It must be very difficult to conceive, right? No, being able to conceive a child for Imo isn't difficult at all. Ben Gong is very happy. Oh, so it's like that. Tanghua didn't care. She glanced at the Empress's big belly and praised, "Empress is true to Emperor." Naturally, which concubine in the palace isn't true to Imo? Naturally, I am too. Tanghua smiled. That might not be the case. Imperial Gue Fei has been staring at Ben Gong's belly. Could it be that you also want a little prince? Ningxiang suddenly asked. Tanghua smiled softly. Ben Gong has no fate with a child. Ben Gong can't compare to Empress's good fortune. Why? Ningxiang had been puzzled before. Imo said that the Imperial Gue Fei couldn't have a child. She thought that someone had acted against the Imperial Gue Fei. Now that the Imperial Gue Fei said it, could it be her own problem? Tanghua said indifferently, "My body doesn't allow it. When I was young, I fell into the water and froze, so Ben Gong doesn't have that good fortune. Originally, I was feeling sorry for Emperor. He used to favor Ben Gong. What would he do if he didn't have a child in the future? Now that Empress has caught Emperor's eye and is pregnant, it's also a good thing." She threw some fish food into the water and smiled faintly. Otherwise, Ben Gong will have to bear the crime of bringing disaster to the country and the people. And Ningxiang was surprised. Could it be that the Imperial Gue Fei didn't make a scene with Imo because of this reason? Thinking about it, it was possible. A woman who couldn't conceive and was favored by the emperor alone wouldn't last long. To survive in this harem, the stomach had to work hard. Tangwa saw through what Ning Xiang was thinking at a glance. She just wantonly teased the fish and watched them fight for food. It was really interesting. Many people heard that the Empress and the Imperial Gue Fei were sitting in the pavilion together. They thought that something would happen. Until the two left, nothing happened. It was very inconceivable. They didn't think about it. Tangwa didn't have the mind to harm Ning Xiang's baby. Ning Xiang having a baby had nothing to do with her. Ning Xiang was pregnant, and it was impossible for her to hurt herself to deal with Tangwa. She was the Empress, and her position was stable. Only a fool would do that. Tangwa returned to the palace and began to embroider the sachet again. Your Highness, is this for young master again? No, this is for His Majesty. Meilon was shocked. She carefully tried to figure out what the Empress was thinking. She did not think that the Empress was trying to fight for favor. This is a gift that will only be delivered to Xinyuan Imo after a long time. She carefully rubbed an ink character on the inside of the sachet. After smoothing it out, she placed the sachet in an inconspicuous place and left it there. From today onwards, Meilon will invite Xinyuan Imo over for lunch every afternoon. Meilon nodded. Yes, Your Highness. Mei Qing is responsible for spreading the news to the people in the Empress Palace every day, saying that I want to invite Xinyuan Imo over for a meal. You don't have to say anything else. An empress who loved Xinyuan Imo would definitely find an excuse to snatch Xinyuan Imo away. This was exactly what she wanted. Sure enough, from the second day onwards, Xinyuan Imo would receive the news every day that the Imperial Gue Fei invited him to lunch. Just as he was about to go, he received the Empress invitation. This made him remember that his imperial brother said that he didn't need to go to the Imperial Gue Fei's palace during the day, so he simply went to the Empress Palace. It was like this every day. Later, he simply told Uniquely that he didn't need to report the news from the Imperial Gue Fei. In fact, he also wanted to secretly forget that feeling. Chapter 477. Gua is so good to my stupid brother. She prepared such good food for him. Xinyuan Mie said sourly as he swept all the dishes on the table. Tangwa couldn't help but laugh. I knew that he wouldn't come. This table of dishes was for him in name, but in reality, didn't they all end up in Amie's stomach? I know. Xinyuan Mie put down his chopsticks and held her hand. If it wasn't for me, Gua wouldn't have put in so much effort to make it herself. He knew what was good for him. When Gua was good to him, it was really asking for his life. Tangwa took out the small dog sachet from Xinyuan Mie's body. She lowered her eyes and said, Mie, let's start. The truth should surface. In the future, our relationship can be exposed openly. We can also tell the world that the person who has always been with me is you, Xinyuan Mie, and not him, Xinyuan Imo. The person who facilitated all of this is him. Xinyuan Imo. Tangwa looked up and smiled faintly. She stared at Xinyuan Mie. Mie, don't make such a mistake like Xinyuan Imo. If you make such a mistake, you won't be forgiven by me. I won't make such a mistake, Guo. He hugged her. How could he be so stupid? Soon, he would become the most powerful adulterer in the world. Why was he a little excited? Tangwa invited Xinyuan Imo for 2 consecutive months, but it was to no avail. Everyone in the palace thought that the imperial noble consort had fallen out of favor. But it was really strange that Xinyuan Imo would give half of the time to the imperial noble consort. Xinyuan Imo was a little anxious. Even though Uniquely didn't say that the imperial noble consort invited him, there were so many eyes and ears in the palace. He heard it. Sometimes, he wanted to go over during the day. That night, he came to the secret room. According to the day, he should go to the imperial noble consort's palace today. He couldn't go to the Empress's palace openly. Originally, he could go directly to the Empress's palace through the secret passage and not meet Xinyuan Mie. He waited for a while until Xinyuan Mie appeared. He had a complicated expression and said, Imperial brother, explain to the imperial noble consort tonight why you didn't go during the day. He felt that this was an unnecessary sentence. There was no need for him to say anything. His extremely intelligent brother would definitely handle this matter beautifully. I don't need second brother to remind me. I still have the ability to comfort my own woman. Xinyuan Mie strode past Xinyuan Imo, the sachet hanging from his waist swaying. Before Xinyuan Imo could retract his gaze, he suddenly called out to Xinyuan Mie, "Wait." Of course, Xinyuan Mie would stop as he wished. He turned around in confusion. Is there anything else, second brother? Xinyuan Imo stared at the sachet embroidered with a puppy. He was not looking at a puppy, but at the background of the puppy, which made him a little absent-minded. Brother, where did you get this sachet? He couldn't help but take the sachet. The background pattern was at least half the same as the one he secretly took back from Ningxiang's room. This pattern was very special, like the totem of a nation. He couldn't be wrong. Xinyuan Mie hit Xinyuan Mo's hand. Look if you want, don't touch it. Of course, this was given by my woman. If second brother wants it, go find your woman to make one. With that, he strode away. Xinyuan Imo couldn't stop him in time. Xinyuan Imo was absent-minded. He hurriedly went back to the palace to find the hidden sachet. He looked at it carefully. The totem was mostly similar, but some of the positions on the edges were different. He didn't know embroidery, but he had eyes. His brother's sachet was the most similar to this one. The one in Ningxiang embroidered seemed to have only embroidered the surface, but in reality, she didn't find the foundation. When this thought came out, Xinyuan Mo's mind exploded. He quietly hid the sachet and went to Ningxiang's palace. Chapter 478. Ningxiang. Zhen's sachet is old. Embroider one for Zhen. Xinyuan Imo said carelessly, taking out a drawing with a totem drawn on it. I found a totem in a book by chance. Zhen liked it, so I embroidered this. When Ningxiang saw that totem, she was stunned. This totem. Where did Imo see it? Her heart was in a mess. Wasn't this the totem she picked up on the sachet when she was young? How did she embroider it? The embroidery on it was complicated. There were many colors. She could only see the surface. Seeing Ningxiang's reaction, Xinyuan Imo narrowed his eyes, picking up the old sachet. Ningxiang used to wear a sachet. Wasn't the pattern similar to this totem? It's similar, but the complexity and difficulty of the two are different. And Ningxiang still shook her head honestly. She didn't know Xinyuan Mo's motive. Xinyuan Imo had never mentioned falling into the water when he was young in front of Ningxiang. This totem is too complicated. Ningxiang doesn't know it. Zhen remembers that Ningxiang's mother was a very outstanding embroiderer. I wonder if she knows it? And Ningxiang shook her head. Mother doesn't know this embroidery method. Oh? Xinyuan Mo's heart sank. Then the embroidery method that Ningxiang knows wasn't taught by your mother? Other than this, it was all taught by my mother. And Ningxiang found it strange. Mo, why are you interested in this today? The blood on Xinyuan Mo's face faded a lot. He hurriedly clenched his fist to maintain his composure, continuing to ask, then the one that Ningxiang knows, who taught her from? Naturally, and Ningxiang suddenly reacted. She learned it from the sachet the Imperial Gue Fei lost. Then remembered that the first time Xinyuan Imo noticed her, he was actually looking at her sachet. The matter of helping him embroider the sachet was handed over to her. It seemed that he especially liked the sachet she made, and now Xinyuan Imo suddenly asked, could it be? His kindness to her, was it all because of that sachet? She was shocked. The sachet was the Gue Fei's. What relationship did Xinyuan Imo have with the Gue Fei when he was young? If it was really like this, after Xinyuan Imo knew the truth, what should she do? And Ningxiang clenched her handkerchief and looked down. She said calmly, of course I learned it from an embroiderer. I don't know where she went. Although Ningxiang had been in the palace all these years, she had been well protected by Xinyuan Imo. Xinyuan Imo wasn't as smart as Xinyuan Mie, but he was still an emperor who could sit firmly on the throne. When Ningxiang was stunned and nervous, how could he not tell? He knew Ningxiang's little tricks too well. She was lying. Ningxiang might not be the person he was looking for. Thinking of the sachet on his imperial brother's waist, his heart felt heavy. The truth should not be the same as what he was thinking. If that was really the case, he didn't dare to think about it. Just thinking about it made him feel as if his chest was about to explode. His entire body was ice cold, as if he was standing naked in a world of ice and snow. It was extremely uncomfortable. Then let's change the incense. Xinyuan Imo retracted his expression and did not do anything that would make Ningxiang suspicious. This emperor also saw it by chance, and Ningxiang couldn't tell, but she didn't dare to let her guard down and only nodded in agreement. After a night, Xianyuan Imo found a secret guard and reinvestigated the family, as well as the family Tang. It had been too long since he fell into the water when he was young. It would take a long time to get the results. Xianyuan Imo was anxious all day. His heart was beating wildly, as if it would only be satisfied if it jumped out. Chapter 479. Xianyuan Imo really couldn't hold himself back. After court, he threw aside his government affairs and rushed to the imperial noble consort's palace with anxious steps. When he reached the palace's entrance, he hesitated for a moment. Eunuchly was actually a bit confused. Wasn't Her Majesty the Empress the one His Majesty doted on? Now, he was rushing here with a complicated expression. Could it be that there was a turning point with the imperial noble consort? He didn't understand. Logically speaking, the imperial noble consort already had an affair with that person, so His Majesty shouldn't have any thoughts. Xianyuan Imo hesitated for a moment, but still walked in. He couldn't wait for the results of the investigation and wanted to come over to ask her. If the person who saved him in the river when he was young was really the imperial noble consort, what should he do? When he thought of this result, his entire body turned cold and his footsteps became heavier. When he walked into the palace, he happened to bump into that person who was like a delicate flower. She was wearing a luxurious palace robe and was leaning lazily on a rattan chair, flipping through an unknown book. Xianyuan Imo clenched his fists and walked over while controlling his heartbeat. He called out, "Is the imperial noble consort in a good mood today? His Majesty?" Tangwa slightly raised her head and smiled faintly. "It's pretty good. The weather is very good, so I came out to read and bask in the sun." Xianyuan Imo sat on a stone bench at the side, at a loss. He dryly said, "It's pretty good." Then he asked, "Does the imperial noble consort know embroidery?" Tangwa lightly raised her brows and didn't answer. She only looked at Xianyuan Imo with a strange gaze. He was very uncomfortable. Just asking. Jin realized that Zhan doesn't know much about the imperial noble consort. Speaking of this, Xianyuan Imo was a bit disappointed. It wasn't just little. He didn't understand her at all. He didn't know what she liked or her habits. He glanced at the exquisite incense burner with green smoke curling up from it. The color on his face faded and his hands and his sleeves were trembling. If he wasn't afraid of her suspicion, he wanted to take the incense burner away on the spot. "The imperial noble consort likes this incense very much?" "Of course I do." Tangwa put down the book and lowered her eyes with a faint smile. "Isn't this bestowed by His Majesty? I didn't forget to light it every day." When she said this, Xianyuan Imo felt like he was being pressed down by a huge rock. Come to think of it, the imperial noble consort had been lighting this incense for many years. That incense was overbearing. Lighting it for a month could cause a woman to be infertile. His lips and teeth trembled as he controlled his trembling voice. "This incense is already outdated. Jin will have someone send another one to Imperial Gue Fei another day. I've lit it for so many years, I'm used to it. Just light it." The woman didn't lift her lowered eyes, her voice low. "In the entire Hogong, this incense is the only one I have. I like it. Emperors should know that I like to monopolize everything." She looked up, her clear eyes seemingly wanting to look into his heart. "The only thing I can't do is that I can't monopolize His Majesty." Xianyuan Imo felt like he couldn't breathe. He opened his mouth but couldn't tell her that they had never been together. He didn't want to say that if she was her, what should he do? Xianyuan Imo already didn't have the courage to ask if the person from his childhood was her. His fingers flexed and clenched tightly. Zhan still has some government affairs to take care of, so Zhan won't accompany Imperial Noble Consort. Jin will send new incense this afternoon. Only Imperial Noble Consort has it. It's a tribute that just came up. Xianyuan Mo's voice was choked. Zhan won't give it to anyone else. He suddenly remembered that the Imperial Noble Consort's knee hurt. He also remembered that she had once said that she fell into the water when she was young. He still remembered that it was a cold winter day, and it was snowing lightly. He knew very well how cold the water in the river was. He felt his eyes swell and hurriedly stood. He didn't want her to discover his abnormality and fled the palace. Let's withdraw. Tangwa pointed at the slowly rising smoke and gave a low laugh. That laugh was a bit cold. The people in the palace really know how to fill in the blanks. Chapter 480. Tangwa leaned against the cushion and read a book. Suddenly, a figure flashed into the hall. She felt a familiar aura, but she didn't even lift her eyelids. She was already used to Xinyuan Mie coming into her palace in broad daylight. This time, he pulled her into his arms and buried his head in her neck. He even took a bite and said in a hoarse voice, "Guo-er, I'm so jealous. So you were the one who saved second brother when he fell into the water." So Guo-er fell into the water because of Xinyuan Imo. For the rest of her life, her knees would be uncomfortable in rainy weather. Not only was he jealous, but he also felt heartache. He fiddled with the little dog Sachet. I found out that he only remembered this special totem. When he saw Ningxiang for the first time in the harem, he thought that a Ningxiang was that person. Second brother is actually a shrewd and careful person. He didn't plan to reveal this to a Ningxiang. He wanted to protect a Ningxiang and preserve her purity. He didn't want to give her the impression that he only doted on her because she saved his life. As for what happened when he was young, he would probably keep it for a long time before mentioning it to a Ningxiang. Xinyuan Mie let go of Tangwa and kissed Tangwa's forehead. Ironically, because he was careful, he missed the person he was supposed to be with. I'm really jealous, but I also feel lucky, but I also feel terrible. He wrapped his arms around her waist. He was so careful and gentle, afraid that he would hurt her. I'm jealous that he met Guo-er first. He's lucky that he missed Guo-er. My heart aches for Guo-er because of him, and Guo-er is hurt by him. If it wasn't for the strong feeling of love at first sight, he might have become an accomplice. For a moment, the hall was terrifyingly quiet. Guo-er, let me help you massage your knees. The rainy weather is coming again. Xinyuan Mie squatted down and placed his palms on her knees. He raised his head and smiled devilishly at her. His deep eyes were filled with love, and there was no need for words to express it. Tangwa looked straight into his eyes and smiled. I only like Amye. I won't like him. Her slender hands caressed his cheeks. Amye should think about how to face the various Azura battlefields. After Xinyuan Imo knew the truth, he would definitely come here. Once our relationship is exposed, you'll be pointed at every day. Guo-er, you're underestimating me. I've never cared about what others think of me. He got up and wrapped his arms around her waist. I only care about you. I know. With me around, no one will dare to laugh at Amye. Xinyuan Mie shook his head and laughed. When Guo-er treated him well, he really wanted to dig out his heart and feed it to her. This little girl actually said that she would protect him. However, this feeling was not bad at all. He really liked Guo-er. She liked him to the core. Your Majesty. The sudden appearance of the shadow guard made Xinyuan Imo very nervous. He stared blankly for a moment before speaking. Did you find out? Got it. Give it to me. Xinyuan Imo flipped through the information he found, page by page. His fingers were clenched so tightly that they turned white. When he flipped to the last page, his eyes were red. He gripped the last page tightly and felt that his breathing was not smooth. Are you sure there's no mistake? When he spoke, his lips and teeth were chattering. Yes. Xinyuan Imo stared at the dragon desk in a daze. After a long while, he waved his hand. All of you, leave. When he was the only one in the imperial study, he lost all his strength and leaned weakly against the dragon chair. A teardrop slid down from his red eyes and landed on the page, blurring the words on it. It's really her. Xinyuan Imo covered his face in pain. His body trembled, as if his internal organs were being torn apart. He suddenly let go of his hand. His face was drained of blood and his eyes had lost their light. All that was left was confusion and helplessness. Chapter 481. Send them all to the Imperial Gue Fei. Last time, she said she liked gold and silver. Take all the gold and silver in Zhen's treasury. She has to change her palace attire 3 times a day. Give her all the silk and satin as tribute. And those decorations, Jin heard that she likes to change them every day. Take them all. Eunuch was stunned. Looking at Xinyuan, who had changed greatly, he didn't know what to do. Thinking of the news he had just received, he still carefully opened. Emperor, Her Highness the Empress invites you over for lunch. Xinyuan's face suddenly turned cold. His icy gaze made Eunuch understand that he had said the wrong thing. He hurriedly knelt down. This servant will send all the rewards to the Imperial Gue Fei right now. Feeling Xinyuan's icy gaze withdraw, Eunuch hurriedly wiped the sweat on his face and complained in his heart. It really wasn't easy to guess the Son of Heaven's heart. Yesterday, he had been so strict with Her Highness the Empress. Today, he wanted to empty his little treasury to support the Imperial Gue Fei. If it wasn't for the fact that he was wearing several layers, the cold sweat on his back would have soaked his clothes. The matter of Xinyuan wantonly rewarding the Imperial Gue Fei couldn't be hidden. In just a quarter of an hour, the entire inner palace knew. The emperor had almost emptied his own little treasury. This time, all the precious items that had been offered as tribute had been moved to the Imperial Gue Fei's palace. The people in the palace, no matter if they were old or new, all expressed confusion and even surprise at Xinyuan's actions. Wasn't the person that Xinyuan truly doted on Her Highness the Empress? Then, what was going on today? Nyang, the palace's storehouse is almost full. Mei Lan wasn't surprised at all by Xinyuan's sudden rewards. Should we move to the side hall? Move over, Tangwa said without turning her head as she skillfully played mahjong. Seeing the shocked expressions of Meng Defei and the others, she smiled and said, Wait a moment, bring it up and let Meng Defei and the others choose. Imperial Gue Fei, there's no need. Meng Defei hurriedly shook her head. She was just very shocked. What was with the emperor today? It couldn't be a conspiracy, right? The other palace concubines also thought the same. Even the concubines that had been reading in the side hall came over. They all looked like they were facing a great enemy. It really was hilarious. They were all thinking, could it be that the emperor was serious this time and wanted to get rid of the Imperial Gue Fei for the empress? They were all very anxious. They were just small imperial concubines. If the emperor wanted to deal with an imperial concubine, they really couldn't do anything. In Shufei, continue. What's wrong with you all? Tangwa shook her head and laughed. It's just some rewards. You'll get used to it. It won't be a big deal. If you don't take it seriously, leave your undergarments behind this time and get out of my palace. As soon as she said that, everyone quickly stopped thinking about it. How embarrassing would it be to lose a belly band? Moreover, other than He Zhaoyuan, none of them had brought extra belly bands. For the next few days, Xinyuan sent all kinds of rewards to the Imperial Noble Consort's palace. At first, everyone thought that it was a conspiracy. They thought that he finally couldn't hold back and was going to make a move on the Imperial Noble Consort. Who would have thought that he would pick out items every day and have them delivered to the Imperial Noble Consort's palace, which forced people to re-evaluate the Imperial Noble Consort status. The most impatient person was naturally Ningxiang. She had already guessed why. Xinyuan already knew that the Imperial Noble Consort was the person he was looking for. She didn't know what happened between the two, but it was definitely not good for her. Amo, what's wrong with you these days? And Ningxiang couldn't bear it anymore. She personally came to the Imperial study to stop Xinyuan. She tried to squeeze out a smile. Amo, you? After opening her mouth, she didn't know how to ask. Chapter 482. Imperial Noble Consort won't have children in this lifetime. This is Zhan's fault. It's also Zhan's fault for not recognizing her earlier. It's still Zhan's fault for mistaking you for her. Empress, regarding the fact that you lied that day, Zhan won't hold it against you because you're pregnant. From now on, just be a good empress. Ningxiang's face paled as she retreated. Imo, what do you mean by this? Didn't you say that you like me and only treat me well? Wasn't my position as empress carefully planned by you? How can you be like this? How can you be like this? Ningxiang finally couldn't hold back her tears. You said that I'll be the only one in this life, and you won't be moved by anyone else. Imo, are you going back on your words and abandoning me? Without you, what's the point of me being empress? I might as well be that little noble lady. And Xinyuan stepped forward to support Ningxiang, who was on the verge of collapsing, and patted her shoulder. It was Zhan who mistook you for her. This isn't your fault. You didn't know either. Just be a good empress. Zhan won't treat you unfairly. If you give birth to a prince, he'll be Zhan's crown prince. No. And Ningxiang pushed Xinyuan away. With tears on her cheeks, she stubbornly said, I don't want my son to be some crown prince. Imo, I want you. I want you. Don't you understand? I value you the most. What did I do wrong? Just because you mistook me for her, you gave me all the love. It was you who pulled me into the sweet abyss. Now that you finally know the truth, you want to push me away so easily. Imo, you're really heartless. Empress, you should calm down. Chuanxue, take good care of the Empress. She's very heavy. Don't leave the palace during this time. The disguised house arrest caused everyone's faces to turn pale. Eunuch, who was following at the side, carefully wiped his cold sweat. He seemed to have learned an incredible secret. Xinyuan and Ningxiang shouted, even if you know everything and want to redeem it, can you really do it? The person you hurt has been hurt long ago. She'll know what you did sooner or later. Xinyuan's gaze suddenly turned cold as he glared at Ningxiang, causing her to shiver and involuntarily retreat. I won't let her know. I will never let her know. You'd better be tactful. I don't care about the small and family. And Ningxiang really couldn't stand properly this time. Fortunately, Chuanxue was there to support her, so she didn't fall directly to the ground. She could only stare blankly at Xinyuan's departing figure and suddenly burst into tears. Chuanxue, he is so cruel. And Ningxiang began to sob. Just because he doesn't like me doesn't mean he can hurt me at will. In the past, I was proud that he liked me and pitied the imperial noble consort for her misfortune. Now, this pitiful person has become this consort. What is this called? It's called the cycle of karma, and no one can escape it. Mother is right. Emperors are heartless and heartless. But if I spoil you to the extreme, I can also push you into the abyss. But this consort is really unwilling. I gave my heart to him, but in the end, because he didn't find her, I mercilessly abandoned her. What is this? Chuanxue also wiped her tears. Your Highness, you've been wronged. She was just a small palace maid. What could she do? There were rumors in the harem that the imperial noble consort had regained favor and the empress had fallen out of favor. Chapter 483. Every day, Xinyuan would bestow all sorts of items into the imperial noble consort's palace, confirming the fact that the imperial noble consort had regained her favor. On the other side, the news of the empress being placed under house arrest quickly spread. He seemed to have put everything on the line and didn't care about what others said. Every day, he would receive memorials to impeach the imperial noble consort. He would throw them into the brazier and burn them. Gradually, there were rumors outside that the imperial noble consort was a demoness who would bring disaster to the country. If she was not executed, it would bring disaster to the Tianqin kingdom. With this huge accusation, countless courtiers knelt outside the hall, requesting that the imperial noble consort be punished. Of course, the courtiers who knelt down to punish the imperial noble consort belonged to the royalist faction, as well as the in-family faction. On the other hand, none of the families of the imperial concubines who were close to Tang were requested that the imperial noble consort be punished. Xinyuan looked at the courtiers who were kneeling on the ground and looked rather impatient. He waved his sleeves. If you like to kneel, then kneel. If you like to disobey my wishes, I can take this opportunity to change a batch of useful people. With that, he flicked his sleeves and left. The courtiers who were kneeling on the ground looked at each other and had no choice but to stand up. This move was useless. It wouldn't work. Helpless, everyone could only go down and think of other ways. Imperial noble consort, don't worry. Those people can't do anything to me. I will protect you. After dismissing the courtiers, Xinyuan couldn't wait to come to Tangwa's place and express his loyalty to her. It was truly comical. He understood that when he appeared, Xinyuan wouldn't dare to appear. Once the two of them appeared at the same time, she would definitely be hurt. In fact, he was also afraid that the truth would be exposed, but he couldn't help but come to see her. He wanted to salvage all of this. The past was the past. They could start again. In the future, he wouldn't like anyone. He wouldn't pamper anyone. He would only like her, pamper her, and protect her. He had completely forgotten that some things could not be stopped once they started. Some hurtful things, once done, were done. No matter what he did, it would be useless. Nothing could go back to the past. Unexpectedly, Tangwa no longer showed him that pure and trusting smile like before. She also no longer smiled brightly and said to him, "Ah, Mo, I naturally believe you. I believe you will protect me." She only raised her head slightly and smiled faintly. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Xinyuan Mo was stunned, and then he quickly suppressed the uneasiness in his heart. It was probably because of a Ningxiang that the imperial noble consort had a grudge against him. She had said that she always liked to monopolize him. Yes, she must be angry. "We will come to see you again at night." When Xinyuan Mo realized that the person who had come tonight was not him, he turned around and smiled bitterly. Was it too late for him to fight with his brother now? He was the emperor on the surface, while his brother was the hermit emperor in the shadows. In truth, he wasn't a match for him at all. Even the position of emperor was only because imperial brother was not interested in it. Imperial father actually valued imperial brother more and admired him more. However, imperial brother's personality was lively and unrestrained. He was unwilling to be the emperor. Once imperial brother decided on something, it would be impossible for him to snatch it away from the other party. But this time, he wanted to give it a try. In your dreams. At night, Xinyuan Mie hugged the person in his arms and whispered in her ear, "He's just dreaming. He even dares to snatch Gu'er from me. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm afraid that there's no one to manage the Tianqin kingdom, I really want to chop off his dog leg. He's running here all day." In the afternoon, he found him and said that he wanted to compete fairly with him. Screw the fair competition. Gu'er had always been his alone. Chapter 484. Xinyuan Mo planned it well, thinking that he could use the rest of his life to make it up to his beloved. However, what he did in the past was not kind and not secretive. This person was so unlucky that even water got stuck in his teeth. On this day, after court, he was preparing to pick something good to send to the imperial noble consort today. He saw Uniquely running over anxiously. "What's wrong?" "Your Majesty, things are not good." The Empress and Lan Zhaoyi went to the imperial noble consort's palace together. Uniquely finally understood how much the emperor cared about the imperial noble consort. He didn't dare to be careless when he got the news. Xinyuan Mo's face paled. He quickly remembered that a Ningxiang also knew a secret. He couldn't care about anything else and quickly rushed in the direction of the imperial noble consort's palace. Uniquely only saw a flash in front of his eyes, and he disappeared. He quickly ran after him. "Why is the Empress free today?" A Ningxiang was supported by Chuan Xue and stood in the hall. She stared straight at Tangwa. She suddenly realized that after so many years, the imperial noble consort's face became more and more beautiful. Time seemed to have treated her well and didn't leave any traces. The way she lifted her eyes and looked at him was enough to make him lose his soul with a single glance. Putting everything else aside, no one could compare to the imperial noble consort's appearance. Today, she only came for one thing, to destroy Xinyuan Mo's hope. Xinyuan Mo was too ruthless and didn't give her any hope. She couldn't care about anything else. Xinyuan Mo thought that using the infamily could comfort her. Actually, it wasn't. She wasn't the legitimate daughter of the infamily. Her mother wasn't formally taken in by her father. She was snatched back. If she hadn't become the empress and been chosen by Xinyuan Mo, the infamily wouldn't have remembered her at all. Some time ago, she received a letter that her mother had already become a monk. Taking advantage of her stable position as the empress, she decisively broke away from the infamily and became a monk. It was Xinyuan Mo's love that made her forget her mother's advice. But she just couldn't accept it. She was pregnant with the dragon child. According to Xinyuan Mo's temperament, this might be his only son. Unless she killed the imperial noble consort, Xinyuan Mo wouldn't kill her. She suddenly felt that it was funny. The new life she had looked forward to was actually used by her like this. Today, she came to expose this illusion. Xinyuan Imo let her down. She wouldn't let Xinyuan Imo get his way. Why? Why should she, and Ningxiang, bear all the consequences? She had only accepted his love and given her heart, but in the end, she had received such a result. This consort came today to have a good chat with the imperial noble consort. Tangwa didn't get up and sip the tea. What do you want to talk about? And Ningxiang didn't care anymore. She casually found a seat and sat down. I want to talk about a lot. Anything. She glanced at the various decorations in the room and her heart ached. Xinyuan Imo really doted on the imperial Gue Fei. She took a deep breath and squeezed out a smile. I have to congratulate Imperial Gue Fei for regaining favor. Of course not. And Ning Xiang followed up and suddenly leaned closer, her gaze sweeping over the exquisite incense burner. There wasn't any incense today. She knew that Imperial Gue Fei liked to light it in the afternoon, so she purposely picked a time close to noon. This incense, Imperial Gue Fei still lights it? At first, she didn't know that there was a problem with the incense. Later, she found out from Lan Jiaoyi. It was interesting to ask why Jiaoyi Lan helped her. Jiaoyi Lan was Xinyuan Mo's confidant, but she loved Xinyuan Imo deeply. Naturally, she wouldn't let the imperial noble consort take advantage of her. Jiaoyi Lan knew the person who looked for the incense. Chapter 485. It's still lit. Every afternoon, I take a nap and never miss a day. Seeing Tangwa answer with a smile, and Ningxiang thought that the other party was showing off Xinyuan Mo's kindness to her. She couldn't help but laugh out loud. It's so funny. Xinyuan Imo is so funny and so cruel. Empress, what are you laughing at? And Ningxiang laughed for a while before stopping. Looking at Tangwa's puzzled face, she said, I'm laughing at you for being kept in the dark and not knowing. I'm laughing at you for mistakenly giving your heart to some people. I'm laughing, Empress. Xinyuan Imo finally arrived. When he barged in, he saw Ningxiang saying something. He immediately shouted, Didn't I forbid you to leave the palace? Why aren't you going back to your palace? Bring the Empress back. Xinyuan Imo waved his hand. Eunuch Li, who ran up from behind, quickly brought 2 eunuchs to a Ningxiang. Empress, please. Okay, I'll go. And Ningxiang didn't seem to intend to resist. She stared at Xinyuan Imo and saw that the other party had already arrived in front of Tangwa. She was so familiar with the way he asked about her well-being. She wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and went out with Eunuch Li, just at the moment when Xinyuan Imo relaxed. Ningxiang is poisonous. If it's used for a long time, it will cause a woman to be infertile in less than a month. And Ningxiang opened her mouth and said, Xinyuan Imo didn't have time to stop her. He only shouted, Imperial noble consort, don't believe her. She's talking nonsense. She just can't bear to see me treat you well. And Ningxiang laughed. Xinyuan Imo stared at her coldly and said in a deep voice, Why aren't you inviting the Empress back to the palace? Eunuch Li didn't dare to be careless. He gave the 2 eunuchs a look. The 2 grabbed Ningxiang's arm and forcefully brought her out. And Ningxiang's face revealed a sad smile. She laughed out loud and shouted, Imperial noble consort, do you know that there's more than one person who comes to your palace during the day and sleeps with you at night? She finally said this sentence. In an instant, everyone who didn't know the truth was shocked and looked at Ningxiang in shock. Is the Empress possessed? Take her away. Quickly take her away. The Empress has gone crazy. Lock her up. How dare she frame the imperial noble consort? She's so jealous that she's not fit to be the Empress. Jin has decided. Your Majesty, why are you so heartless to me? And Ningxiang turned around. Her face was already covered in tears. I'm not the person you found. You don't like me. You can be cruel to me at will. You can hurt my heart at will. You can ignore my feelings. You can say that I framed the imperial noble concubine in front of everyone. But don't you know that you didn't find that person to sleep with the imperial noble concubine last night? You said that it was for me. You said that you liked me. You said that you didn't like the imperial noble concubine. You were the one who said all of this. Xinyuan Imo was infuriated beyond recognition. He hurriedly looked at Tangwa's expression, but there didn't seem to be any abnormality. He slightly breathed a sigh of relief. Imperial noble consort, don't listen to her nonsense. Jeanne is not what she says. We must have been blind to have made her empress. Take him away. Tangwa finally said. Wait, Imperial noble consort? Xinyuan Mo's back was drenched in sweat. He wasn't sure if what he said today would have any impact on their relationship. He planned to keep this secret forever. Tangwa ignored Xinyuan Mo and came in front of Ningxiang. Ningxiang also stopped crying. The two just looked at each other like this. Just when Ningxiang thought that the imperial noble concubine didn't believe her and might even give her a slap, the peerless beauty in front of her suddenly smiled. Chapter 486. She said in a low voice, "How can I not know that there's something wrong with the peacefulness incense? He gave it to me that day, so I lit it. I got used to it and got addicted. I couldn't kick it no matter what." And Ningxiang went from indifference to shock. She looked at Tangwa in disbelief. The imperial noble consort knew from the beginning? She even lit it willingly? And Ningxiang felt a chill run down her spine. Why did she pretend not to know when she knew? As for what you said, the person in the day and at night are not the same person. Tangwa looked at Ningxiang with a smile, then turned back to look at Xinyuan Mo with ridicule in her eyes. Do you really think that there are two people who are exactly the same, whether it's appearance, behavior, personality, or small actions? Xinyuan Mo's heart sank. Xinyuan Mo's heart sank, and he subconsciously took a step back. He opened his mouth and wanted to say, "No, it's not like that. It's really not like that. Listen to my explanation. We can actually start over." This time, he would definitely be serious and would definitely not hurt her at all. He would carefully take care of her and fulfill what he had said before. Love her, pamper her, protect her, and listen to her. But this time, he finally noticed that the love in the imperial noble consort's eyes had disappeared without him knowing. There was nothing left. This discovery made him panic and helpless. He wanted to dig a hole in the ground and escape from here. From the first night, I knew that the two of you were not the same person. When Tangwa calmly said these words, Xinyuan Mo's brain suddenly exploded, and he no longer had the slightest bit of luck. She knew it from the beginning. Now that she thought about it carefully, she asked more than once, Mo, have you ever truly liked me? She didn't know how many times she asked this question, but he didn't count. But his answer every time was, of course. He dismissed her with two simple words. When she lowered her head and smiled and said, I know, what was she thinking in her heart? Was she thinking that he was lying to her? Lying, and she must feel terrible? When he wanted to be crowned empress, she said those words. She said that she wasn't afraid of being spurned by others. As long as he didn't want to be crowned empress, she was willing to stand up. No matter how many people cursed at her, she wasn't afraid. At that time, could it be that she had given him the last chance? He still remembered that it had been a long time since she called him Mo and only called him Emperor. The more he thought about it, the paler Xinyuan Mo's face became. He took a few steps back and shouted, Imperial noble consort, no, Gua. He had wanted to call her that for a long time. The woman smiled and shook her head. Since everything is out in the open, I also have something to announce to you. Intuition told Ningxiang and Xinyuan Mo that the announcement was definitely not a good thing. Xinyuan Mo, the person you gave to me. Tangwa's indifferent smile became brash and wanton. Coupled with her exquisite and beautiful face, she looked like an enchantress. This consort is very satisfied with Xinyuan Mia. What I want to announce today is that he will be this consort's person from now on. And Ningxiang's eyes widened. This was completely different from what she had imagined. Why did the imperial Gue Fei, who had a desolate look on her face just now, suddenly change her expression and look happy? Was it a dream, or was it an illusion? Guo Zhan. Tangwa's gaze calmly swept across Xinyuan Mo's face and fixed behind him. Yeah? Why aren't you showing yourself since you're here? Could it be that you're really going to let me go? Chapter 487. Of course not. Xin Yuanmie's voice rang out as he walked out from the back. His face, which was exactly the same as Xin Yuanmo's, shocked everyone present. He revealed an attentive smile and quickly arrived in front of Tanghua. He gently held her hand and kissed the back of it. Then, he wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her into his embrace. Empress, this consort has no interest in fighting for favor with you. Tanghua placed her hand on Xin Yuanmie's handsome face. This consort has always liked to monopolize. This man belongs to this consort, both physically and mentally. This consort is very satisfied and does not intend to change him in this lifetime. Gwr, I don't mind. We can start over. Xin Yuanmo didn't know what to say. He had worked so hard for so long just to hide this secret. However, what she said just now had undoubtedly shattered his beautiful dream. Tanghua couldn't help but laugh. You said you don't mind? Between what? Between the fact that I once had a man and made love with this man every day. You don't mind that I was touched by this man? Xin Yuanmo was dumbfounded. You shouldn't have forgotten that this man personally sent himself to my bed. I was just doing as you thought, cooperating with you and doing as you wished. How did it become my fault? No, it's not me. Tanghua shook her head and leaned into Xin Yuanmie's embrace. You really don't know how to speak. No wonder you don't make people happy. Yeah, tell him how to coax his ex-girlfriend. Gwr, it's all my fault. Everything is my fault. It's up to you how you want to punish me. I was blinded by lard and didn't know Gwr's heart. Everything is my fault. You are the stars in the sky, pure and brilliant. You captivated my eyes and captured my heart. Xin Yuanmie hugged the person in his arms and quickly expressed himself. From today onwards, he could be considered honorable. Tanghua was amused by his words. Well said. You have to have the attitude to admit your mistake. When coaxing someone, you have to know how to put down your attitude. It's clearly your fault, Xin Yuanmo, but you still want to slander this consort. Do you think this consort would be willing to abandon the perfect Amie and choose someone like you? Xin Yuanmo clenched his fists and looked at the woman in front of him who was amused by his royal brother. That smile should have belonged to him. And Ningxiang was no longer sad. She was shocked by everything in front of her. The imperial noble consort's actions had caught her off guard. She had always thought that the imperial noble consort cared a lot about Xin Yuanmo and wanted to snatch Xin Yuanmo away. Only now did she realize that the imperial noble consort didn't care at all. The man who made her laugh was the one she liked. Perhaps the other party had liked Xin Yuanmo before, but that was only in the past. The imperial noble consort was much smarter than her. Gwr, are you really not willing to give me a chance? No matter what, you are still my imperial noble consort. Aren't you afraid of going public like this? That's why you can't compare to Amie. At this point, you want me to forgive you. You slandered me in the beginning, and now you're threatening me. Tell me, which woman would like someone like you? Yes, I'm your imperial noble consort. You finally remembered today that you like to be cuckolded. I'll satisfy you. I'll satisfy you for the rest of my life. I really want this title of imperial noble consort. You want me to be unable to get pregnant? Actually, it's not that troublesome. With my broken body, there's no possibility of getting pregnant. Since you like it, I'll satisfy you. Haven't I asked you many times? Have you ever liked me? Have you ever treated me sincerely? Have I given you many chances? And you, not only have you always lied to me, you even tried to frame my father for treason for a Ningxiang. In an instant, Xin Yuanmo's mind exploded. It's over. Chapter 488. The big show ended with Xin Yuanmo leaving in a sorry state. He was in a dispirited mood at this time and had forgotten to settle accounts with a Ningxiang. A Ningxiang was also in a daze as Chuanxue helped her back to the palace. What she heard today was really too unbelievable. The person Xin Yuanmo found for the imperial noble consort was actually his twin brother. At that time, she vaguely heard Xin Yuanmo call that person imperial brother. Don't spread what happened today. And Ningxiang warned Chuanxue. Once this secret was spread, what awaited her was death. Now her mind was in a mess and she didn't know what to do. She originally wanted to destroy Xin Yuanmo's hope, but she didn't expect so many things to happen that she couldn't clean up. Chuan Shue was also very scared. She knew that the imperial noble consort was arrogant, but she never knew that the other party was so arrogant that she was not afraid of anything. In front of the emperor, she dared to say that she was going to make him a cuckold. Chuan Shue suddenly felt that she was really lucky to come back alive from the imperial noble consort's place last time. Chuan Shue nodded, turned around, and went out to warn the others. After a while, she hurried back. And Ningxiang's heart sank. What's wrong? Nyang Nyang, I'm afraid that we can't hide it anymore. The imperial noble consort took that person for a walk in the imperial garden openly, completely ignoring the eyes of others. And Ningxiang stood up and said in disbelief, "Is she crazy?" Everyone watched the emperor return to his bedchamber. Now that she took that person to the imperial garden, wouldn't it be evidence for others to catch? She doesn't want to live anymore. And Ningxiang didn't understand how there could be such an arrogant and wanton person in the harem. She was not afraid of anything and didn't care about anything. She only wanted a moment of pleasure. Consort Mengda and Consort In Shufei also heard the news. It was said that the imperial noble consort and a man who looked exactly like the emperor snuggled up to each other and strolled in the imperial garden. She couldn't walk, so the man had to carry her. When she took a fancy to a beautiful flower, the man put her aside and walked into the flowers to pick flowers for her. Everyone thought that the imperial noble consort was crazy. Those who were timid didn't dare to come and take a look for fear of being silenced. Meng Defei, In Shufei, and the others had come. From afar, they could see the imperial noble consort being carried by that man. That man was using Qinggong to step on the surface of the water, carrying her as he ran. She was wrapped around his neck, smiling with her eyes curved. From time to time, she would whisper a few words in his ear. It was unknown what she was saying, but that man also smiled happily. There was a hint of evil at the corner of his mouth, which was very different from Xianyuanmo. This scene caused everyone to freeze in place. Imperial Gue Fei is smiling so happily. He Zhaoyuan commented, "I've never seen her smile so happily before. This is the real her." Sister Consort Da, what do you think of this matter? In Shufei was a little worried. Has this Imperial Gue Fei really gone crazy? Otherwise, how could she dare to have an affair with another man in this back garden? Consort Mingda shook her head. I don't know, but I don't think the Imperial Gue Fei is that simple. Let's wait and see. Yeah, bring me up. Tanghua had already noticed the people over there. Lying on Xianyuan Mie's back, she hugged his neck and whispered in his ear. Xianyuan Mie tapped his feet and quickly leaped into the pavilion, carefully putting her down. Consort Mingda and the others all saw this scene. They looked at each other and finally walked into the pavilion. At first, no one spoke. It was In Shufei who couldn't help but ask, "Sister Imperial Gue Fei, you are?" Chapter 489. Coming out to play with Amya. Tanghua smiled slightly and introduced him to them. He's called Xianyuan Mie, Xianyuan Mo's older brother. He was also the gift that Xianyuan Mo gave Bin Gong on the day he wanted to serve Bin Gong. Bin Gong was very satisfied and kept him by my side. When the words fell, the faces of the imperial concubines present all paled. The information in this sentence was too much. Let them digest it. This man was personally given to Imperial Gue Fei by His Majesty? This sentence exploded in the minds of the imperial concubines. What did this mean? They widened their eyes, wanting to get more information from Tanghua. If it really was as they thought, they really didn't know what to say. The Imperial Gue Fei was really too pitiful. That's enough. Don't look so pitiful. This queen is doing very well. I already said that I'm very satisfied with Amya. Tanghua chuckled softly. You'll get used to it in the future. The concubines hurriedly shook their heads. No, they weren't used to it at all. The Imperial Gue Fei had an adulterer, and it was even a gift from His Majesty. If this was spread, it couldn't be hidden anymore. Imperial Gue Fei, those officials probably won't let you off. Meng Defei reminded in a small voice. You should think of a way. You don't have to worry about that. In Shufei interjected. I see that this one's martial arts isn't bad. Let him take you and escape. His Majesty is heartless to you. You don't need to be lectured. Leave the imperial palace, leave this dirty place, and live a life that belongs to you. All right, don't try to persuade me. Leave, Bin Gong won't leave. Tangwa hurriedly shook her head. This imperial Gue Fei's life is extravagant. I'm not willing to give it up. Leaving the imperial palace means eating dirt. I won't do it. I won't do it. The imperial concubines were speechless. You're already like this, and you're still not willing to give up the splendor and wealth. You have to be alive. But seeing that Tangwa wasn't listening, they didn't know what to say. By now, the news should have spread outside. Then they finally understood why the imperial Gue Fei said that she was satisfied with Xinyuan Mia. This person was truly too considerate. He clearly looked like such a noble person, but he only lowered his head in front of the imperial Gue Fei. He considerately poured tea for her and would whisper in her ear to show his concern for her. When the wind blew, he would even ask the imperial noble consort if she was cold. When he protected the imperial noble consort, he really treated her like a treasure. Concubine Mingda and the others looked at each other. If there was a man who treated them like this every day, they would not be able to control themselves. Compared to the cold and heartless emperor, the man in front of her was obviously more attractive. They had long given up on Xinyuan Mo, but the way the man in front of them treated the imperial noble consort made them think that if they had not entered the palace, would there also be such a person who treated them with care and gentleness? Soon, they came back to their senses. No, it couldn't be. They were all young ladies from prestigious families. Even if they didn't enter the palace, the people they married were either well-matched in social status or from noble families. It was already good enough for their future husband to treat them with respect. This man named Xinyuan Mia was clearly a special case in the heavenly Qin kingdom. As for those aristocratic sons, which one of them didn't have multiple wives and concubines, they definitely wouldn't be as considerate as the other party. On the contrary, as the matriarch, no matter how tired they were, they had to work hard to maintain the relationship between the two families for the sake of their family and their reputation, to deal with all sorts of complicated matters in the family, to avoid causing trouble for their husbands, and to frequently go out to make friends with noble ladies. Just thinking about it made them tired. If they really had to live such a life, it would be better to live leisurely and happily in the palace. The imperial noble consort had suffered a lot to get what she had today. When they thought of how Xinyuan Mo had personally sent a man to the imperial Gue Fei, they felt a chill in their hearts. Chapter 490. The imperial noble consort openly strolled in the imperial garden with a man who wasn't the emperor. Her intimate behavior was known by everyone in less than half a day. When the officials heard this news, they all thought it was unbelievable. Even if they wanted to spread rumors, they shouldn't do something so unbelievable. Although they really wanted to drag the imperial noble consort out and kill her. However, they soon discovered that this matter was true. The matter spread too quickly. By the time Xinyuan Mo reacted, it was too late. Previously, he was disappointed. Even if the imperial noble consort pointed at his nose and scolded him, and the two of them were dazzling in public, he didn't think of revealing this matter. Instead, he tried hard to convince himself that he had let her down. He personally sent his imperial brother over, and all of this was indeed his fault. Her current behavior was all because of his actions that made her bitterly disappointed. He didn't think of doing anything to her at all. However, she didn't seem to care about anything. After everything was settled, she wantonly sought pleasure with his imperial brother in the imperial garden, regardless of the many eyes in the palace. When this matter happened, Xinyuan Mo's first thought was how to protect her. He smiled bitterly. If he knew this would happen, why did he do it in the first place? Perhaps this was retribution. Atamo and Ningxiang looked at the man sitting on the dragon throne with a pained expression. Her heart also ached. Are you thinking of how to protect the imperial noble consort? Actually, I didn't expect the imperial noble consort's personality to be so unrestrained. She's really bold. And Ningxiang stood below and didn't walk towards Xinyuan Mo. I especially envy her because she can like someone to the extreme. If she doesn't like that person, she can also take revenge to the extreme. She can ignore everything and just do what she wants. If she doesn't like someone, then she doesn't like that person. If she likes someone, then she likes that person. I have to admit, RMO, the Imperial Noble Consort is a good person. It's your loss to lose this person. And Ningxiang smiled softly. Even though she already likes your elder brother, you can't bear to do anything to her. However, she doesn't seem to appreciate your feelings. Amo, look, how deeply you've hurt this person. I admit that at first, I was very jealous of her and was on guard against her. I even wished that you could cripple her. Ever since I heard what she said that day, I realized that she was even more pitiful than I was. She clearly knew everything, but she didn't say anything. You were so cruel to her, but when she still liked you, she was still willing to do as you said. If it were me, I might not be able to do it. From the very beginning, when I knew the truth, I would have restrained my heart and become an indifferent person. I would have guarded my own land and watched from the sidelines. I would have watched those people in the palace fight and pushed them from behind. I will never believe that love is 30% true to you and 70% false. There will be no such thing as pure love anymore, just to keep your position. As for her, she gradually forgot her love for you and turned around to find her love even more. And Ningxiang suddenly laughed. She is really special. Even though she was hurt so deeply, she still believes in love. I stood far away in the corner of the Imperial Garden and watched the two of them get along. It was really enviable. Amo, your elder brother really treats her very well. You didn't lose unjustly. I also realized that although she took revenge on you, she truly likes Xinyuan Mie. The way she looks at Xinyuan Mie is full of love. You have already completely lost her. Enough. Xinyuan Mo patted the dragon table with a sullen face. You came just to say this? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.